Chapter 24:20. After a series of threats and promises, he told them that if they bought from other shops, they were not allowed to buy from Gadi. Gradually, Liang Qin's army's reputation in Tianguang ruins became extremely bad. Everyone was angry, but did not dare to speak. Tianguang ruins, floating life pavilion. At this moment, many people had gathered. There were men and women, old and young. But regardless of gender or age, they all exuded an intimidating aura. It was obvious that these people were highly respected in their daily lives. Pa! A slap was slammed on the table. An old man in his 50s stood up angrily and shouted, "What bullshit, you Liang-chun? He is really too much. He dares to bully our longevity valley." Master Bai, don't be angry. This Liang Qin's army has been arrogant for a long time. Today, all the famous people on the pill competition 4 list have gathered together to discuss how to deal with Liang Qin's army and resist Yi Liangqin. Looking around, the men and women in the room were all in the top 10 of the apricot forest, colored glaze, spiritual pivot, and coiling dragon lists. The one who slammed the table and shouted was by Ziliang, the top of the 8th grade colored glaze list. He was the Valley Master of Longevity Valley. Longevity Valley was not strong, but it was famous for alchemy. Master Bai, the Valley Master of Longevity Valley, was a famous alchemy master in the Purple Cloud domain, the top of the colored glaze list. Bai Ziliang had a fiery temper and was extremely protective. This time, one of his favorite grand disciples was seriously injured by Liang Qin's army, and he was furious. Most of the people in the room revealed angry expressions. A female cultivator even gritted her teeth and said, "What Liang Qin's army? I think they are clearly scum. It would have been fine if they had only beaten and threatened others, but they had even humiliated an innocent girl. I heard that a young lady in White Moon City was humiliated to death just because she said one bad thing about Yi Liangqin. Bastards. We must not let this group of bastards continue to be so arrogant." That's right. As long as Liang Qin's army is not eliminated, Tianguang ruins will never have a peaceful day. Chase Yi Liangqin out, and Liang Qin's army will naturally collapse. Everyone in the room was enraged. Sitting at the head of the table, Lung Qingwan watched this scene without saying a word. Under her veil, the corner of her mouth slowly curved into a cold smile. She glanced at a man dressed like a scholar not far away. The man smiled and nodded. He coughed lightly and stood up. "Everyone, please listen to me, Dong Yulong." As soon as these words came out, the room fell silent for a moment, because this Dong Yulong was number 1 on the 9th grade spiritual pivot list. He was an alchemy grandmaster that had been invited by the Lan Imperial clan with a large sum of money to participate in the alchemy competition. With this kind of identity and strength, there were only 2 top rankers of the Coiled Dragon list, Lung Qingwan and Su Qingling. He was qualified to suppress him. Therefore, as soon as he opened his mouth, everyone's gazes immediately turned to him, no longer making any noise. Dong Yulong held a folding fan in his hand and waved it gently with a proud smile on his face. "Today's banquet was organized by me. Its purpose is to get rid of the tumor in Tianguang ruins so that we can have a clean Tianguang ruins in the elixir competition. Master Dong, if you have any brilliant ideas, please speak." Dong Yulong folded his folding fan and said in a deep voice, "I wonder if everyone still remembers that the elixir competition has a rule of expulsion and recommendation." Chapter 24:21. His words stunned everyone present. Immediately, someone reacted, "Master Dong, are you referring to the rule that, as long as the top 4 alchemy rankings agree, they can recommend any cultivator or even a mortal to participate in the alchemy competition? Otherwise, they can expel any alchemist?" That's right. During the period of the elixir competition, Tianguang ruins would hang the apricot forest, colored glass, spiritual pivot, and coiling dragon rolls on the rebirth square. It wasn't without reason that every champion would make an announcement in the Tianguang ruins. The reason for that was because those 4 lists possessed a certain influence on the upcoming grand alchemy competition. For example, this recommend and expel at will rule was one of them. But this rule doesn't apply. Soon, someone objected, Yap Liangchun is the #1 of the Xinglin list. As long as she doesn't agree to expel herself, what's the use of the other 3? Everyone nodded in agreement. Yap Liangchun would only expel himself if he was an idiot. Dong Yulong smiled. Have you forgotten that there is a second condition for the recommendation and expulsion? That is, apart from myself, if the top 10 alchemists on the pill competition's 4 ranking lists reach the same conclusion, the recommendation and expulsion rules will also be fulfilled. The reason why I have gathered all of you here today is because I hope that all of you can agree to stop Yi Liangchun from participating in the Great Alchemy competition. Everyone was shocked. They looked at each other and realized that the top 10 cultivators of the pill competition were all here except for the top of the apricot forest list, Yi Liangchun. Dong Yulong's expression turned serious, and he said in a clear voice, "Everyone, think about it. Why does Liangchen's army dare to be so arrogant, so brutal, do as he pleases? Isn't it because they have Yi Liangchun to support them? If we want to defeat Liangchen's army and let those bastards get their punishment, we must first take drastic measures and defeat the people who are supporting them in one fell swoop." Everyone in the room nodded in agreement. They did not have any enmity with Yap Liangchun. However, during this period of time, the actions of Liangchen's army had truly touched their bottom line. Dong Yulong turned around and slightly bowed towards Lung Qingwan and Su Qingling. "Immortal Fairy Qingwan, Master Su, I wonder what the 2 of you think." Lung Qingwan's expression was cold and indifferent. Her face was still covered with a veil, but it was still faintly discernible that she was devouring. She had a beautiful face. A pair of cold and arrogant, beautiful eyes swept across everyone in the room. The young men immediately blushed, their eyes filled with infatuation. A trace of ridicule flashed past Lung Qingwan's eyes, but the expression on her face was clear and cold. She said, "Yi Liangchun is merely a person who fishes for fame. Those who follow him are naturally not good people. Not only should she be banished, but she should also be forced to swear an oath to never enter the Tianguang ruins again." She lowered her eyes slightly, concealing the cold, murderous intent in her eyes. That bastard Yi Liangchun dared to humiliate her in public. She would destroy her reputation and make her die a graveless death. Of course, before she died, the Medicine King's inheritance would belong to her, Lung Qingwan. Even that bitch Junmayan can't beat me. What is Yi Liangchun? Good, Fairy Qingwan is right. Dong Yulong clapped his hands and exclaimed in admiration. It's just that if we expel her from the pill competition, she'll always make a comeback and allow Liangchen's army to do all sorts of evil things. Only by forcing her to never enter the Tianguang ruins would they be able to get rid of any future troubles. Master Su, what do you think? Everyone turned to look at a woman sitting in the corner. Chapter 24-22. The lady's eyes were exquisite and beautiful, but she was dressed casually and simply. Her long black hair was unadorned, and only a few loose bundles of hair were tied up. She looked lazy and carefree. While the others were talking, she was holding a jade pot in her hand and drinking it leisurely. The room was bustling, but it seemed to have nothing to do with her. When she heard Dong Yulong's question, she looked up and said with a faint smile, "You said that Liangchen's army is causing trouble recently? Where's the evidence?" Dong Yulong was stunned. Everyone in the room was stunned as well. Dong Yulong said, "Master Su, what do you mean? Those evil people said that they are Liangchen's army and they are working for him. How can this be wrong?" Su Qingling sneered. She held her head with one hand and leaned on the table. "They said that they are Liangchen's army, so they are? So if I call myself Dong Yulong's grandmother, then you are really my grandson?" Someone in the room couldn't help but laugh. Dong Yulong was furious. He couldn't pretend to be a scholar anymore. "Su Qingling, don't cross the line." Su Qingling waved her hand. "Tsk, why are you so agitated? I was just making an example." She slowly brought the jade pot to her plump and bright red lips and casually took a sip. Her charming and enchanting look made many male cultivators in the room swallow their saliva. Dong Yulong was so angry that his chest kept moving up and down. He only calmed down after a while and gritted his teeth. Su Qingling. Everyone here agreed to punish the scum and expel Yi Liangchen. Only you don't agree? Don't tell me you already know who Yi Liangchen is? Suddenly, he squinted his eyes and sneered. Oh right, I remember now. When Yi Liangchen first appeared in Azure Blue World, the nephew Su Zi was there too. I remember someone saw Su Zi standing next to Yi Liangchen during the finals of Golden Heavenly Light. As expected, you were protecting Yi Liangchen. Could it be that your nephew, Su Zi, is a member of Liangchen's army? Su Qingling's face darkened, and a cold glint appeared in her eyes. Dong Yulong, do you dare to slander my nephew again? Seeing that the two of them were at loggerheads, the others in the room hurriedly tried to mediate. Su Qingling placed the jade pot on the table and said coldly, You want me to agree to activate the arbitrary banishment rule? Sure. Then prove to me that those heartless bastards were really ordered by Yi Liangchen. Inside Lousy's #1 shop, Easy Bro, North Sunflower, and Xiang Wan were running around in circles. How did it become like this? How could Devour Liangchen's army do such a thing? Bei Kuei Xiang Wan covered her face with her hands and could not stop her tears. White Moon Spirit Light is a very, very good girl. I remember her. The last time she saw Gadi, she was so happy. How could he die? Did Liangchen's army really do such a heartless thing? Impossible. This is impossible. Sister Hua punched the wall fiercely. We have tried our best to control Liangchen's army. We announced all kinds of rules and even forbade them from slandering other alchemists. If it was the real Liangchen's army, the people who truly support Gadi, how could they do such a thing? Chapter 24-23. Elegant Bro gritted his teeth. Then someone is impersonating Liangchen Dajuan. Who is it? Who is so sinister and vicious to think of such a despicable method? The few of them were talking. Suddenly, someone rushed in from outside the door and shouted anxiously. Oh no, oh no. Elegant Bro, Lil Kuei, go to Reincarnation Square and take a look. Elegant Bro rushed out. What happened? Liangchen Dajuan. It's someone from Liangchen Dajuan. He did evil in Bai West City again and was caught. The person who spoke had panic, anger, and pain written all over his face. He could not stop crying. It's Liangchen Dajuan. It's really one of Liangchen Dajuan's members. They did unforgivable evil. Now, all the Elixir Masters in Tianguang Ruins have joined forces to expel Almighty Yi from the Elixir competition and even banish her from Tianguang Ruins forever. Elegant Bro and the other three widened their eyes. What did you say? Reincarnation Square was currently filled with 4 times more people than usual. Everyone could not help but focus their attention on the tower in the middle of the square. From time to time, someone exclaimed excitedly, Ah, isn't that Master Su Qingling? She actually came to Tianguang Ruins and appeared in Reincarnation Square in person. For a special user like Su Qingling, with enough popularity points, she could choose to hide her tracks. Once they hid their traces and usernames, even if they stood in the crowd, no one would take a second look. Master Dong Yulong is here too, the master of Longevity Valley. He hasn't been to Tianguang Ruins for many years. Fairy Qingwan, we love you. We'll support you forever. Someone counted around the tower and could not help but be speechless. This, other than Yi Liangchen who topped the Xinglin list, all the other Elixir Masters are here. Even in the Elixir competition, there was no way to see so many Grandmasters gathered at once. What's going on? Why are all these Masters here? Dong Yulong's face was full of pride. He took a step forward and raised his leg to kick casually. Someone let out a muffled groan and fell to the ground. Only then did everyone realize that there were 7 or 8 men in the same attire who were tied up and kneeling on the ground. The rope that bound them was the extremely expensive punishment rope from the Tianguang Ruins. Only special class users had the right to purchase it. Furthermore, it could only be used on low popularity users that Tianguang Ruins deemed to have done a lot of evil. Soon, someone recognized these men. Liangchen's army. Back then, the ones who threatened me not to buy medicinal pills from other shops were them. Yes, they were the ones who molested my daughter. If I hadn't arrived in time, my daughter would have. Dong Yulong looked at Su Qingling and chuckled. Master Su, didn't you want evidence? Now, I've caught these bastards from Liang Qin's army with my own hands. This can be used as evidence, right? Su Qingling frowned slightly and did not speak. Dong Yulong chuckled. I understand now. Master Su, are you suspecting that these people aren't part of Liang Qin's army? He pulled, and the man on the ground immediately let out a blood-curdling scream. Speak. Are you pretending to be Liang Qin's army? Don't pull anymore. I'll talk. The man in the lead let out a blood-curdling scream. My name is He Jinwen. I'm really part of Liang Qin's army. If you don't believe me, you can search me. I have Liang Qin's army's token on me. Chapter 24:24. Bei Kuei, Xiang Nuan, and the others who had just arrived at Reincarnation Square felt their vision go black when they heard this. Their faces paled. They knew He Jinwen. He was truly a member of Liang Qin's army. Moreover, He Jinwen's status in the army was not low. He was one of the first customers to buy mutated talismans from Laozi's #1 shop. Even after being suppressed by flourishing Heaven Light and flowing Moon Gate, he had never left. But who would have thought that such a grand elder would give Liang Qin's army a fatal blow? Soon, someone found the token on He Jinwen's body. This token was very special. It was custom-made in Tianguang ruins and could only be used there. The front of the token was engraved with Chun and the back with Wang. Liang Qin's army proudly called this token the King Chun token. But now, this glittering King Chun token was a slap to the face of Liang Qin's army. I will kill you, you animal. An old man suddenly rushed out from the crowd and punched and kicked He Jinwen. His eyes were red and his face was filled with hatred. He did not care about the possible punishment from Tianguang ruins and even used his spiritual energy. Give me back my daughter. Animal, I will make you pay for my daughter's life. This scene was violent and bloody. The people who saw this only felt grief, indignation, and sympathy, and tears trickled down their cheeks. As for Tianguang Su, perhaps it was because of the punishment lasso, he didn't punish him. Dong Yulong waited until the old man had vented enough before looking at Su Qingling and snickered. Master Su, what else do you have to say? Do you still suspect that he is not from Liang Qin's army and that we slandered him? Su Qingling frowned and did not speak. Dong Yulong suddenly pointed at Bei Kuei, Xiang Nuan, and the others and said loudly, Look, Liang Qin's most loyal dogs are here too. Why don't we ask them if this He Jinwen is a beast raised by Liang Qin's army? On Reincarnation Square, everyone's eyes were focused on Bei Kuei, Xiang Nuan, and the others. The gazes of yearning, envy, and respect turned into anger and disgust at this moment. Even if they cultivated to the level of devouring in the real world, the weak were prey to the strong, and the victor was king. However, the actions of Liang Qin's army had already touched the bottom line of people's conscience. Bei Kuei Xiang Nuan's eyes were red as she said hoarsely, Although he is a member of Liang Qin's army, we didn't know. Very good. Dong Yulong quickly interrupted her. Since you admit that he's a member of Liang Qin's army, that means that we didn't capture the wrong person. He suddenly raised his hand, and the punishment chain that was originally binding He Jinwen was suddenly dragged out like a snake. Then, it turned into a whip and lashed at his body. He Jinwen, who did not even make a sound after being punched and kicked by the old man, screamed like a pig being slaughtered after being whipped by the punishment rope. At the same time, the punishment rope lashed out at the others, causing them to roll on the ground and wail incessantly. However, this miserable scene made the people in the Reincarnation Square cheer loudly. Do it. Ruthlessly beat them to death. This kind of scum should not be allowed to live in this world. How is punishing these people enough? Liang Qin's army now numbers in the tens of millions, and none of them are good people. Chapter 24-25. If it wasn't for Master Dong and the others standing up for us today, Liang Qin's army would grow stronger by the day, and I wonder how we would be bullied and humiliated. The reincarnation square was in chaos. Some people were cursing Yi Liang Qin's army, and some people were helping Yi Liang Qin. Not every Liang Qin's army would bully others. Some of them are very kind and have even helped us before. That's right, and even if Liang Qin Dajuan is in the wrong, actually, it has nothing to do with God Yi. She didn't do anything wrong. However, these people who spoke up for Liang Qin's army, very quickly, the people who had been deliberately arranged to lead the rhythm of the battle rose up to attack. Bastard, you're speaking up for them? Are you also a member of Liang Qin's army? Do you also want to be whipped and banished from the Tingguang ruins? If it wasn't for Yi Liang Qin, would his army be so arrogant? In my opinion, it might be Yap Liang Qin who asked them to commit such atrocities. Slowly, no one dared to speak up for Liang Qin's army anymore. Some of Yi Liang Qin's troops chose to back out. They threw the token of King Qin on the ground and drew a line between them and Yi Liang Qin. There were also people who lowered their heads in shame and silently left the Tingguang ruins. Only those like Beike, Xiangnuan, and the others were still holding on, but they felt so humiliated, angry, and unwilling, but there was nothing they could do. In front of the tower, Dong Yulong finally withdrew the chain of punishment. He looked down at He Jinwen, who was twitching and moaning, and said coldly, "Speak. Who told you to do this?" He Jinwen's face was covered in snot and tears, and his body was trembling nonstop. Hearing the question, his eyes flashed and he stuttered, No one. It's us who want to establish prestige for Liang Qin's army." His evasive action was very obvious, and everyone present saw it. Bai Ziliang had a fiery temper. He couldn't hold it in any longer. He strode forward and snatched Dong Yulong's punishment rope. Then, he whipped Dong Yulong's head and face. "You still dare to lie? Fine. I'll whip you until your soul scatters." "Huh? I don't dare to do it anymore. I'll talk. It's God Yi. It's Yap Liang Qin who asked us to do this." As soon as these words came out, the entire reincarnation square went silent for a moment. North Sunflower Xiangnuan was the first to scream. "Impossible. Great God, you would never do such a thing. You're slandering me." He Jinwen cried. "Great God Yi is the person I admire the most. If it wasn't for the fact that I really couldn't take it anymore, I wouldn't have sold out Great God Yi. He Jinwen, dare to swear to the heavens that it was really Great God Yi who asked us to do this." As he twitched, he stuttered. Some time ago, when Almighty Yi had just topped the apricot forest list, he suddenly came to us and asked us to help him clear the obstacles in the elixir competition. She said that the results of the first stage of the elixir competition are closely related to the results of the elixir masters on the 4 lists of the elixir competition, as well as the popularity of the elixir masters in Tingguang ruins. Goddess Yishi, although she has great talent, she has only been in contact with elixirs for a short time. Being able to refine a 7th grade bottleneck-breaking elixir is already her limit. How could she possibly refine an 8th grade and 9th grade elixir in half a month and even enter the glaze and spiritual pivot lists? Because there's no way to do it on the 4 lists of the elixir competition, Great God Yi thought of a way to increase the popularity of the Tingguang ruins. But selling ordinary elixirs and talismans can't increase Great God Yi's popularity so quickly in a short period of time. Chapter 24-26. Only this kind of extreme method that makes everyone revere and submit to Liang Qin's army can raise Goddess Yi's popularity to the highest in a short period of time. When He Jinwen spoke, because of the pain and unwillingness, his words were intermittent and unclear. Between the lines, it was as if he wanted to hide something for the person he worshipped. However, it was because of this attitude that the surrounding cultivators had no doubts about his words. A cultivator ran out of the appraiser hall beside the reincarnation plaza and shouted angrily with a trembling voice, "I just checked Tingguang Ruin's recent popularity ranking. Yi Liang Qin is indeed number 1. Oh my God!" For the pill competition, for the sake of increasing popularity, he actually thought of such an insane method. To think that I worshipped Yi Liang Qin so much in the past. comparing her to my most respected young master Yin Xiao. Now that I think about it, I feel disgusted. Damn it, although I'm not a good person, I will definitely not do something like humiliating an innocent girl to death for the sake of popularity. I joined Liangqin's army in the past because I was blind. I want to withdraw immediately. I also withdraw from Liangqin's army. What Liangqin's army? I think it's an army of bastards. Chase all of them out of Tianguang ruins. The cultivators on the Reincarnation Plaza were extremely angry. The sea of people in the square was boiling with excitement. Everyone was shouting, "Expel Yi Liangchun from the pill competition. Expel her from Tianguang ruins. Yi Liangchun, hand over the pill king's inheritance. Scum, don't deserve to be a pill master." Beikue, Xiangwan, and the others cried and shouted, "Goddess, he is not this kind of person." However, it was of no use at all. Their voices were too weak and insignificant. The angry crowd couldn't hear their shouts at all and didn't want to hear their shouts. Lung Qingwan looked at this scene, opened her slender white hand, and casually admired it. The corner of her mouth curled into a mocking and proud smile. See, she was just a mortal from the cultivation continent. Defeating her was that easy. He had been too hasty before. To deal with a mere trash, why would she need to do it herself? As long as he borrowed a knife and set it up properly, he would be able to consign her to eternal damnation. Dong Yulong looked at Su Qingling mockingly after hearing everyone's shouts. "Master Su, do you still not agree to kick Yi Liangqin out of the competition?" Su Qingling was still frowning. She felt that something was wrong. But when she saw the sorrowful appearance of the old man whose daughter had died a tragic death, she sighed softly and did not say anything in the end. Soon, Dong Yulong took out a piece of bright yellow silk and let all the alchemists present imprint their own spiritual sense imprint. What was written on the silk was that all the pill refinement masters objected to Yi Liangqin's participation in the pill refinement competition. They also requested to seal her Tianguang ruins jade key forever. After all the alchemy grandmasters made a copy of it, they would submit it to Tianguang ruins. Yi Liangqin was completely ruined in the field of medicinal pellets. Seeing the last spiritual consciousness imprint on Su Qingling, Dong Yulong's mouth slowly curved up. He waved the folding fan in his hand lightly and looked at all the cultivators in the Reincarnation Plaza with an elegant demeanor. The pill refinement competition is a grand event that belongs to all of us pill refinement masters and is also a carnival for all cultivators. Even if we have to give it our all, we won't let a shameless madman like Yi Liangqin tarnish the competition and tarnish Tianguang ruins. Chapter 24-27. The champion of the elixir competition belongs to those who are capable and talented. I, Dong Yulong, have always been humble and introspective, even on the top ranker on the 9th grade spiritual pivot list. I've never dared to be arrogant. As he spoke, he smiled and said generously, "For example, I know that I'm not as good as Fairy Qingwan in alchemy. I'll do my best in the elixir competition. Even if I lose, I'll admit defeat willingly." Everyone nodded, calm about gains and losses, neither arrogant nor discouraged. With such a state of mind, it was no wonder that Dong Yulong could become a master. As for Fairy Jun Qingwan, who made Master Dong admit defeat, she received even more respect from the crowd. Dong Yulong's expression turned solemn as he continued, "We welcome healthy competition. But for people like Yi Liangqin who are not capable enough to refine 8th grade or 9th grade elixirs, he tries to use dishonest means to achieve his goals by harming others. All of us alchemists will join forces to boycott him." Hearing these righteous words, the crowd below couldn't help but cheer. However, at this moment, a familiar vibration came. Then, an even more familiar light shot into the sky. Fireworks exploded in the center of the Reincarnation Square. For some reason, little Tion's mechanical voice, which had always been dull and calm, seemed to carry a hint of mockery this time. Special announcement from Tianguang ruins. Special announcement from Tianguang ruins. The top ranker of the 8th grade glaze list has changed. The new top ranker of the glaze list is Yi Liangqin. A praised elixir, 1 8th grade heaven nourishing elixir. Total points 327,000. Dong Yulong's hand that was holding the fan was waving passionately in the air. At this moment, he suddenly froze. He didn't know whether to stop or wave. His expression became even more sluggish, as if he was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. The originally lively reincarnation square seemed to have been doused with a bucket of cold water. Everyone quieted down. Everyone's expression was still the same as before, filled with righteous indignation and seeking justice. In the next moment, his expression turned into one of dumbfounded shock. Well, what did they just hear? The top ranker of the 8th grade glaze list. But didn't he Jinwon and Dong Yulong say that Liangshan did all those crazy things because he couldn't concoct an 8th grade medicinal pill? Because of the silence on the reincarnation square. Bei Kuei, Xiangwan, and the others' hoarse cries finally reached everyone's ears. Goddess Yi is a good person. Please don't slander her. If you want to curse our Liangchun army. If you want to expel us, expel our Liangchun army. No matter what punishment it is, we are willing to accept the devouring. Please, don't hurt the people we've protected with all our might. Over and over again, the ones who shouted were North Sunflower, Xiangwan, Sister Hua, Zhu Xiang, Zhu Yu, and those inconspicuous people in Liang Chen's army who knew and trusted their idols. These voices were very weak. At first, they were drowned out by the malice and the surging crowd. But it never went out or disappeared. At this moment, it finally reached everyone's heart. Then, they finally realized something. One by one, they covered their mouths and cried tears of joy. Ah, the first place on the glaze list. What kind of king is the person I like? I knew Goddess He wouldn't be defeated by a mere false accusation. Chapter 24-28. Damn it. What do you mean God Yi isn't capable enough? That's why you came up with such a scheme. Ha ha! Our God, ye shall use his strength to slap your faces. When you bastard, didn't you say God ye can't refine grade? 8 and grade. 9 elixirs? Someone who can't refine grade. 8 elixirs can climb to the top of the glaze list? Ha ha! Dong Yulong's face kept twitching. The pride in Lung Qingwan's eyes instantly turned into malevolence and anger. The other alchemists also looked at each other awkwardly. Only Su Qingling laughed out loud after a moment of shock. Interesting, this last is really interesting. You said that because I can't refine grade 8 and grade 9 elixirs, I did something outrageous to increase my popularity? Sorry, I will climb to the top of the glaze list for you to see. Su Qingling shifted her gaze and said leisurely, Master Dong, you haven't finished your passionate speech? Why don't you continue? Dong Yulong's mouth twitched violently. He forcefully suppressed his expression and took a deep breath. So what if she can refine grade 8 elixirs? This doesn't prove that she isn't the instigator of He Jinwen. It also doesn't prove that Liang Chen's army isn't harmful. If the top of the glaze list can't prove it, why don't I prove it on behalf of God Yi? A deep and gentle male voice suddenly echoed. In a strangely quiet reincarnation plaza, it was abnormally loud and abrupt. Everyone couldn't help but look towards the direction of the voice. They saw a handsome young man slowly walking towards the central tower. When the cultivators on the reincarnation plaza saw him, many of them exclaimed, God Fuchin? Fuchin, who was also Chu Tianyu, quickly walked to the bottom of the tower. His eyes swept past He Jinwen, Lung Qingwan, and finally landed on Dong Yulong. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Master Dong, long time no see. Dong Yulong stared at Chu Tianyu and said coldly, Young friend Fuchin, if I didn't remember wrongly, you were also one of the people who competed with Yi Liangshan during the Herb King's inheritance exam. His arrogance and savagery trampled on your dignity and made you lose the chance to become the Herb King's successor. Why are you speaking up for him now? Dong Yulong's question was the same as everyone else's. Many people still remembered the fierce competition between Great God Fuchin and Great God Yi during the Medicine King's inheritance exam. It almost overturned the sky. In the end, Yap Liang Chun won the King of Medicine's inheritance. At that time, many people saw Fuchin's ugly expression. In the Tianguang ruins, there were also many people who mocked Fuchin for opening the King of Medicine's inheritance, but not being able to become a disciple. It was like going for wool and coming home shorn. Not to mention North Kuei and Xiang Wan's Good Day Army. They had heard with their own ears how Fuchin coerced and tempted their god Yi, bullying and humiliating him. But now, the Dust Devouring was speaking up for Yi Liangqin. This development was really incomprehensible to them. Hearing Dong Yulong's words and the discussions of the people below, Dong Yulong's eyes widened. Chu Tianyou's face didn't have the slightest bit of embarrassment or embarrassment. He said calmly, "Master Dong must be joking. It's an indisputable fact that I lost to great God Yi. If one skill is inferior, one must admit defeat. Isn't this what Master Dong said just now?" Dong Yulong's face stiffened. Chu Tianyu smiled. "Oh, I forgot." Chapter 24-29. Oh, I forgot about that. Of course, Master Dong's words didn't count. If I remember correctly, just now, Master Dong personally said that Great God Yi instigated Liangqin's army to commit atrocities because he couldn't refine a Tier 8 medicinal pill. But in the blink of an eye, it became that even if Goddess Yi got to the top of the Grade 8 glazed tile list, it doesn't prove that she has the ability. Chu Tianyu spread out his hands. "You've already said the opposite. With such thick skin, I'm ashamed of my own inferiority and willingly admit defeat." Chu Tianyu said it as if he was admitting defeat, but the meaning behind his words was no longer indirect abuse, but blatant mockery. Many people in the square couldn't help but burst out laughing. Dong Yulong's face turned green and white. The hand holding the fan was trembling slightly. He was obviously furious. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Isn't it just a Grade 8 list? Do you think I care about it? Don't forget, I'm the top of the Grade 9 spiritual pivot list. Yi Liangqin, this silly girl. Want to question me? Want to step on me? If you have the ability, take my position as the top of the spiritual pivot list first." This roar shook the heavens and the earth, silencing the noisy square that had been mocking him. Some of Dong Yulong's supporters immediately cheered. "Master Dong is mighty. Isn't it just a Grade 8 glazed tile list? Do you think Master Dong cares?" "Ha, that's right, showing off a Grade 8 glazed tile list. Can't you see who you're doing it in front of? Yi Liangqin is so amazing. If you have the ability, take the top of the Grade 9 spiritual pivot list too. Don't joke around. Yi Liangqin has only learned pill concoction for a month. No matter how talented he is, with the inheritance of the King of Medicine, making Grade 7 or 8 pills is already his limit. He still wants to make a Grade 9 pill. Ha! I think it's better to daydream." In the square, Lung Qingwan and Dong Yulong's supporters were shouting loudly, mocking Yi Liangqin for overestimating himself. However, most of the passers-by and Yi Liangqin's army looked at each other, strangely silent. Cough! Don't you guys feel that this scene is a little familiar? Haha, I'll say that I'm tired of seeing this kind of face-slapping reversal back in Divine Elephant City. Well, did you guys notice that Goddess Yi has already slaughtered the rank 7 apricot forest list and the rank 8 glazed list? What is she trying to do? Are they going to slaughter all 4 lists of the pill competition? Someone shuddered, his face full of fear. Logic tells me that this is impossible. No matter how powerful an alchemist was, once he refined a high-level medicinal pill, his control over a low-level medicinal pill would weaken. For example, the purity of a 9th-grade Vasuan pill that Dong Yulong was refining now could reach 80%. But if he refined an 8th-grade pill, he could easily refine it, but the purity might not even reach 70%. Conversely, if a person had precise control over the refinement of a Grade 8 pill, even if he could refine a Grade 9 pill in a short period of time, it would be impossible for the pill's properties to reach perfection and thus be given a high score by Tianguang ruins. It was already extremely difficult for Yi Liangqin to make it to the top of the rank 7 apricot forest list and the rank 8 glazed list in 7 days, and almost no one could do it. It was impossible for him to make it to the rank 9 spiritual pivot list in less than half a month before the pill competition. Gulp. Chapter 24:30. Someone swallowed his saliva and murmured, I know it's impossible, but when it comes to great God Yi, why do I feel that it's so? Before the Dragon Ascension 6 lists were slaughtered, everyone thought it was impossible. Before the Medicine King's Inheritances assessment came out, we also thought it was impossible to complete. However, there was one person in this world who did it. From then on, as long as they were competing with this person on the same list, they would tremble. From then on, many people in Azure Blue World, Purple Cloud World, and Tingguang Ruins would never forget the fear of being dominated by a name. From then on, there was no king under Yi Liangchen. Lung Qingwan and Dong Yulong's supporters heard their discussion and couldn't help but laugh mockingly. What? There's no king under Yi Liangchen. I think their brains are broken. Do they really think that the pill competition's 4 lists will be like the Dragon Ascension 6 lists, with a person's name on it? Dong Yulong listened to the voices below and regained his calm. He opened the fan in his hand again, raised it in the air, and pressed it down, indicating for everyone to be quiet. Everyone, there's no need to feel sorry for this Dong. She's just a little girl. Dong Yulong, don't even put her in my eyes. To put it bluntly, as early as 3 years ago, I've already lost interest in refining 8th grade pills. A burst of laughter came from below. Dong Yulong retracted his fan and lightly fanned himself. I believe that Yi Liangchen's talent is outstanding, but outstanding talent isn't the capital for her to be arrogant and presumptuous. Look at our Fairy Qingwan. She became the Coiling Dragon Roll champion at such a young age. Did she form an army of Liangchen to bully the good and commit crimes? Is she arrogant and despotic, looking down on us seniors? Lung Qingwan supporters immediately let out a series of earth-shattering shouts. Fairy Qingwan is unique in this world. Where did that wild girl Yi Liangchen come from? How is she qualified to be compared to our Fairy Qingwan? Fairy Qingwan, Fairy Qingwan, we love you. Dong Yulong bowed slightly towards Lung Qingwan before revealing a regretful expression. He shook his head lightly and said, Yi Liangchen, I know you're in the Tingguang Ruins, but I don't know where you're hiding and listening. Ha! For a despicable villain like you, isn't the best at making those who support you rush to the front, build momentum for you, and do evil for you? To devour. Unfortunately, I have to disappoint you. Liangchen Dajuan's actions have already exceeded our bottom line. You will be completely expelled from this alchemy competition and will not be qualified to participate. These words caused Liangchen's army to be unhappy. Why can't Almighty Yi participate in the alchemy competition? The matter hasn't been investigated at all. The reason that He Jinwen gave just now has already been slapped in the face by Almighty Yi. Chu Tianyu coldly glanced at Dong Yulong and Lung Qingwan. He didn't say anything, but his hands were secretly moving. Liangchen Dajuan's words caused Dong Yulong to sneer, revealing a mocking expression. Refining a grade 8 medicinal pill, and you say it's a slap in the face? Could it be that you think that with just a grade 8 medicinal pill, you can obtain a good result in the alchemy competition? Ha, what a joke. Then where do you place the alchemy grandmasters on the 9th grade spiritual pivot list and the 10th grade coiling dragon list? Doesn't Yi Liangchen like to slap faces? I, Dong Yulong, am standing right here. Chapter 24:31. Dong Yulong raised his chin and laughed coldly. If she has the ability, then step on me from the top of the spiritual pivot board. At that time, she will have the qualifications to say that she slapped my face. Since this is Master Dong's wish, I will feel bad if I don't fulfill it. A light and sweet-sounding voice rang out from the crowd. This voice was calm and indifferent, without any fluctuations, but it was like a clap of thunder, exploding in everyone's ears. Chu Tianyou's eyes suddenly lit up as he stared at the periphery of the crowd. The brilliance in his eyes seemed to carry the weight of the entire world. An ordinary-looking girl slowly walked over. Wherever she went, the crowd would automatically split into two. All the gazes and attention in the entire square were focused on her at this moment. Apart from her, everything else had become a backdrop. God Yi. Ah, after so long, I finally see God Yi again. Guru Yi, slaughtering the Xinglin list and the Glaze list is so cool. We will love you forever. Amidst the screams and cheers, Mu Yin slowly walks up to Dong Yulong. There seemed to be a ripple of water in her peach blossom eyes that rippled like water. Master Dong, I heard that you really want to be slapped in the face. The corner of Dong Yulong's mouth twitched a little. He said sternly, Yi Liang Chun, where are your manners? What did your parents and master teach you? Facing a senior, facing an alchemist of a higher level than you, is this your attitude? Mu Yan's face slightly sinks. Slandering her was one thing, but now even her parents and master were being slandered. Ha, good. Very good. However, the more furious she was, the more radiant the smile on her face became. Things like manners, of course, can only be shown in front of people who are equally well-mannered. I'm afraid Master Dong is not worthy. Also, you said that this is the attitude I should have when facing my seniors, when facing alchemists of a higher rank than me. She brushed the corner of her clothes and said slowly, what a pity. Soon you won't be. Dong Yulong was shocked. What do you mean by that? Before he could finish his words, Mayan raises her hand to the air and snaps her fingers lightly. Boom! The Tianguang ruins shook. Pillars of light shot into the sky, and colorful fireworks exploded. It was a familiar formula, a familiar smell, and a familiar mechanical sound. Tianguang Ruins Special Announcement. Tianguang Ruins Special Announcement. The number 1 ranker of the spiritual pivot list had changed. The new number 1 ranker of the spiritual pivot list was Yap Liang Chun. Appraising the medicinal pills, 1/9 grade truth pill and 1/9 grade yang rejuvenation pill. Total points, 43,000. The entire reincarnation square was dead silent. Lung Qingwan's eyes suddenly widened, her face filled with shock and disbelief. Patter! The folding fan in Dong Yulong's hand broke into two. His stiff body slowly turned around, his eyes fixed on one of the light screens on the reincarnation square. List of the 9th grade spiritual pivot. Number 1. Yap Liang Chun. Total points, 453,000. Second place, Dong Yulong, 364,000 points. Turning his head again, he saw the apricot forest list and the glaze list. The words, Yi Liang Chun, were all shining brightly on the wall. In just a short 7 days, out of the 4 lists of the pill competition, there were already 3 lists, and 150 alchemists were trampled under the feet of this unremarkable girl in front of him. This is Yap Liang Chun. Dong Yulong only felt his vision go black, and he almost fainted. Chapter 2432. Dong Yulong's lips kept trembling. He opened and closed his mouth for a long time, as if he wanted to say something, but he couldn't make a sound. Mu Yin looks at him with a smile that isn't a smile. Using a voice that is like the sounds of nature, she enunciates each word. Master Dong, I've just offered you your favorite to be slapped in the face in public. I wonder if Master Dong is satisfied? Do you want to try it again? The next moment, before Dong Yulong could say anything, Liang Qin's army and the passers-by below had completely exploded. Fuck. What did I just say? Don't compete with Great God Yi in slaughtering the list. Otherwise, you'll just be waiting to be slapped in the face, right? 7 days. Slaughtering the 7th grade apricot forest list, the 8th grade glazed list, and the 9th grade spiritual pivot list in 7 days. What kind of concept is that? Have you forgotten? Other than these 3 lists, there was also the trend list. Right now, the first place of the popularity leaderboard, Talisman Refinement Sub-Leaderboard, is Great God Ye's Barrier Breaking Talisman. The first place of the Medicinal Pills Sub-Leaderboard is still Great God Ye's Barrier Breaking Pill. Great God, he has always been like this. Either he doesn't make a move, or once he does, it's a one-hit kill. Now, who else dares to question the identity of Miracle Medicine King Yi? I asked, who else is there? Step forward. See if your father doesn't smash your face." Ha ha. There was a burst of laughter on the square. Liang Qin's army, which had just been suppressed to the point of being unable to breathe and were even crying out of grief and grievance, were all exhilarated at this moment. Their bodies and minds were indescribably carefree. As for those who didn't trust Yap Liangqun and insulted him, they even threw away Yap Liangqin's army ID card. Now, they felt embarrassed and regretful. Of course, the ones who felt the most ashamed weren't the army of Liangqun and the passers-by who were encouraged. Instead, it was the alchemy grandmasters who stood in the center of the reincarnation square under the tower. Filled with righteous indignation, they gathered together and signed a contract agreeing to the expulsion. His heart was filled with righteousness, and he wanted to expel the scum who did evil. In the blink of an eye, everything that they thought was the cause and effect was overturned. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, his face was slapped loudly. Some of the thin-skinned ones wished they could leave the Tingguang ruins immediately so that they wouldn't embarrass themselves here. Among them, only Su Qingling had an interested smile on her face. From time to time, he would look at Mayan, then look at Dong Yulong and Lung Qingwan, the corners of his mouth curling up in a smile of interest. Dong Yulong gritted his teeth so hard that they made cracking sounds. Only then did he manage to suppress the expression on his face and the roar that was about to burst out of his mouth. However, the words that came out of his mouth were no longer able to maintain his cool and calm demeanor. "This is impossible. In just 7 short days, it's impossible for you to learn how to refine a grade 9 elixir after learning how to refine a grade 8 elixir." No, this was no longer just learning it, but refining the best and most perfect elixir. Devour perfect, even ruthlessly trampling his vast essence pill underfoot. There's no way you concocted this pill. Dong Yulong thought about it over and over again and said resolutely, "You must have taken the pills refined by someone else and passed them off as your own." "That's right. That must be the case. Even the 8th and 7th grade medicinal pills were definitely not refined by you." Mu Yin burst out laughing. "Master Dong, the way you struggle on your deathbed is really interesting. However, as I said, since you like to be slapped in the face so much, then I will definitely satisfy you." Saying that, she said unhurriedly, requesting Tingguang Ruins to release the refining images of the grade 8 heaven-mending pill, grade 9 yang returning pill, and truth pill. Chapter 2433. Little Tion's calm voice came from the sky. "Got it." Then, above the tower, on the light screen that originally displayed the 8th grade glazed list and the 9th grade spiritual pivot list, a scene of a young girl refining pills appeared. Seeing this scene, Dong Yulong's face turned pale. Those who had just revived from the dead and wanted to cheer for Dong Yulong immediately fell silent and gave up. If there were enough materials in the Jade Key and the alchemist's divine sense was strong enough, in theory, refining pills in Tingguang Ruins was possible. But, generally speaking, alchemists who wanted to climb the 4 lists would not choose to refine pills in Tingguang Ruins. Firstly, no one had such a strong and vigorous divine sense. They had to maintain their soul body in Tingguang Ruins and separate a part of it to precisely control the alchemy fire. Secondly, Tingguang Ruins' simulation of the various elixirs was indeed almost identical, but it was only almost. If one was not familiar with the properties of the elixirs, the slightest deviation could result in a difference of tens of thousands of points. No alchemist would be stupid enough to take such a risk. But the scene played on the light screen. The young girl was in the alchemy room of the appraiser hall, and after she finished refining the pills, she walked straight to the glazed goblet used to appraise pills. She casually put the pills in her hand on it. Not long after, the glazed goblet emitted a glaring red light, and the number of points displayed on it kept rising. After putting in a yang rejuvenation pill, it had reached 363,000 points, only 1,000 points away from Dong Yulong, who was in first place. But Dong Yulong had used 5 kinds of pills to obtain the first place on the spiritual pivot list, and Yu Liangchun had only used 1, and his points were almost equal. When a young girl put the second true elemental pill into the glazed goblet, the entire Tianguang ruins was shaken, and the spiritual pivot list changed hands. Dong Yulong's face was deathly pale, and his body swayed. At this moment, his pride and self-esteem were all trampled underfoot, crushed to a pulp. I'm starting to sympathize with Dong Yulong. Didn't he know that in addition to the nickname List Slaughtering Demon, Great Master Yi had another nickname, Little Face Slapping Expert? Being slapped in the face once or twice isn't enough. You just have to come up and slap me a third time. A dignified alchemy grandmaster. Now you've lost all your face. TSK, he asked for it. If it wasn't for him saying that our great god, Yi, isn't strong enough and ordering people to do those crazy, devouring things, would I, great god Yi, have the time to care about him? Why can't those who have their faces slapped learn to be obedient? Do you think that just because ordinary people can't do it and you can't do it, Almighty Yi can't do it? I'm very curious right now. Will the last remaining ranking, the rank 10 Coiled Dragon ranking, be trampled by Almighty Yi in the end? Dong Yulong was speechless. Bai Ziliang suddenly steps forward, calmly looking at Mayan. I don't care how strong you are, whether you could trample me under your feet or not. All I need is for you to tell me, this man. He pointed at He Jinwan. Is he one of Liang Chen's men? Mayan's gaze coldly sweeps over He Jinwan, making He Jinwan shiver all of a sudden, and he tries to curl his body into a ball, reducing his presence. She looks up at Bai Ziliang and nods yes. Chapter 2434. Bai Ziliang's face was suddenly filled with anger. So, you're admitting that you allowed your men to commit murder, injure the people of Longevity Valley, and humiliate an innocent girl to death. The noisy reincarnation square quieted down again. Someone suddenly realized, even if Yi Liangchen wasn't the one who ordered them to do this, the actions of Yi Liangchen's army were indeed devoid of conscience. The old man who had just beaten He Jinwan also came to his senses at this moment. She suddenly cries and pounces towards Mayan, screaming loudly, "Give me back my daughter! Give me back my daughter! My daughter worships you so much, looks up to you, and talks about God Yi in front of me all day, but what did you bring her? It was a catastrophic disaster. Give me back my daughter!" The old man's face was filled with anger and despair. He shouted hysterically, wanting to drag Mu Yin into hell with him. The girl who had been arrogant and carefree in front of Dong Yulong just now had a calm expression on her face and didn't dodge. However, just as the old man is about to pounce on Mu Yin, Chu Tianyu suddenly rushes over, blocking in front of Mayan. The old man's sharp nails directly cut a wound on his face. Physical damage in the skylight ruins would not be reflected in the physical body. However, his divine soul would truly feel pain. However, Chu Tianyu's face was scratched until his bones were exposed, and half of his eyes were poked blind, but he didn't even frown. Mu Yan's brows jump fiercely, and she quickly steps forward. You! Chu Tianyu smiled at her. It's all right. This bit of pain is nothing to me. Mu Yan opened her mouth to speak, but she was interrupted by Chu Tianyu. Miss, let me handle this matter. You promised to give me a chance to prove my worth, didn't you? Thunderclouds rolled above the reincarnation square. This was because the elders' actions had already violated the iron law of Tianguang ruins. The lightning tribulation was about to descend. Mayan's eyes narrow, and her divine sense envelopes the old man. Once the lightning tribulation descended, the one to bear it would no longer be the old man, but her. However, to Mayan's surprise, when her divine sense is linked with the old man, and she's ready to bear the thunder tribulation, the tribulation clouds in the sky instantly disappeared. Mu Yin couldn't help but be surprised in her heart. Little Tian? What was going on? She devours. He remembered that little Tian had mentioned that even he couldn't go against the rules of Tianguang ruins. At most, he could find a small loophole within the scope of the rules and give her some convenience. Soon, Lil Tian's voice sounded in his ears. It's Master's order. Master said that he would give Yi Liangchen the same defense authority as Master, which was the highest level of defense authority. All of Heavenlight Ruins attacks, cannot be used on the first host. Hee, it's master's orders. Little genius didn't break the rules. Mu Yin stares blankly. Xiao Tian, who is your master? Why'd he give her such a high defense clearance? First host, little Tian, you can't tell. At this time, Chu Qinyo's injuries had already healed, and he walked to the old man's side. Mayan can only suppress the doubts in her heart. Uncle, I'm very sorry that Liang Qin's army was poorly managed and brought disaster to you and your daughter. However, the most important thing now is to find the real culprit so that your daughter can rest in peace in heaven. Chu Qinyo's voice was calm and deep, yet sonorous and powerful. Word by word, it smashed into the hearts of the old man and everyone present. Chapter 2435. The old man's murky eyes, brimming with hatred, slowly focus after hearing these words. Behind the scenes, the culprit? What do you mean by that? Chu Tianyu smiles faintly, looking at He Jinwen, who's curled up on the ground. In the end, who instructed you to deliberately ruin the reputation of Liang Qin's army? He Jinwen's body trembles, his voice trembling. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a veteran of Liang Qin's army. I only did these things to help great God Yi quickly accumulate fame. Great God Yi! Great God Yi! He Jinwen cries and shouts as he crawls towards Mayan. I'm really your most loyal supporter. I bought all the talismans and elixirs in Laozi's #1 store into the heavens. I worship you so much. How could I harm you? Everything I did was for you, for Liang Qin's army. You know that, don't you? Mayan looks down at him, the corners of her mouth slightly curling up. Oh, is that so? I'm the one who instructed you to do those beastly things. And it's also for me. For Liang Qin's army? He Jinwen shudders from head to toe. Soon after, tears stream down, a tragic appearance of someone who's been wronged, but is willing to bear it. No, I was wrong about devouring just now. I did all of this voluntarily. It wasn't great God Ye's instruction. I thought that by doing this, it would make more people fear Liang Qin's army, make them yearn to join Liang Qin's army, and also let great God Yi win first place in the pill competition. But great God Yi doesn't know that He Jinwen, did it voluntarily. It has nothing to do with great God Yi and Liang Qin's army. If you want to punish me, then punish me. If you want blood to be paid with blood, then kill me. If He Jinwen blindly denies it, there's basically no one present who would believe him. But his tragic and mournful appearance of, I'm shouldering all the blame by myself, makes many people a little uncertain. Dong Yulong comes to his senses at this time and immediately sneers. Yi Liang Chun, you really have a loyal and devoted subordinate. In order to protect you, he deliberately misled us so that you couldn't refine level 8 and level 9 elixirs. Now that he's abandoned by you, he's still willing to bear all the charges. Mayan slightly narrows her eyes and smiles lightly. She doesn't know who found this He Jinwen. He really did have some skills. Doing so would not only make others suspect whether they were the ones who ordered it. More importantly, Liang Qin's army would be blamed for this crime. Didn't he see the suspicious looks in the eyes of many people in the Rebirth Square? Mu Yan, however, was neither angry nor annoyed. She said unhurriedly, Don't worry, Ya. Master Dong liked to be slapped in the face. How could only 3 rounds be enough? Aren't we carefully preparing the finale of the 4th match for you? Dong Yulong's face turned pale. His face was filled with ferocity, but he was really scared. Yi Liang Chun, stop bluffing. This He Jinwen is a member of your Liang Qin army. There's no way you can deny it. Mu Yin indifferently glances at him, not saying anything. On the contrary, it was Chu Tianyu who took a step forward, saying slowly, Everyone present, have you heard of the truth pill? Truth pill? As soon as these words came out, everyone in the square was stunned. Never heard of the truth pill? But this term, why did it sound somewhat familiar? Suddenly, someone came to his senses and cried out in surprise. It's one of the medicinal pills in Great God Ye's ranking on the level 9 spirit pivot list. Chapter 2436. Chu Tianyu let out a slight smile. In fact, if Great God Yi spent a little more time to refine the Yang Return Elixir even more perfectly, she would be able to rank first on the Spirit Pivot Board with just one elixir. But she used the second elixir, the Truth Elixir. That is because today, this elixir will display its interesting effects in front of all of you. As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Qinyo's right palm pressed down towards He Jinwen. In the next moment, a radiance lit up below He Jinwen's body. Lines of runes appeared on the ground around him, gradually forming a formation. Everyone scratched their heads in confusion. Just now, he was talking about Liang Chun Dajuan's innocence, and then he mentioned the Truth Elixir. Everyone was eagerly anticipating this elixir that they had never heard of before. But Chu Tianyu was setting up an array again. Wasn't this jump a little too fast? Dong Yulong spoke sternly. Yiliang Chun Fuchen, what are you two doing? Do you think you can escape punishment by pretending to be mysterious? Let me tell you, Liang Chun Dajuan has done so many atrocious things and should be punished. Chu Tianyu looked at him with ridicule and squatted down. He grabbed Dong Yulong's lower jaw and fed him an elixir. Cough, cough, cough. You, what did you feed me? He Jinwen panicked at first, but he immediately recalled that this was the Tianguang ruins. Even if Chu Tianyu fed him the perforating poison, his divine spirit would at most experience the pain of the poison. It wouldn't truly harm his body. Thinking up to this point, He Jinwen instantly calmed down. He looked at Chu Tianyu with a distressed expression, then looked at Mu Yin and spoke in a hoarse voice. Great God Yi, didn't I say it already? Everything has nothing to do with you. Why do you? Halfway through his words, the originally extinguished array below him suddenly lit up. Subsequently, everyone on the Reincarnation Plaza heard He Jinwen's voice paused for a moment. Immediately after, everyone on the Reincarnation Plaza heard He Jinwen's voice paused for a moment. Kiki, I wonder which part of Yiliang Qin's brain went haywire. Back then, I didn't know which part of Yiliang Qin's brain went haywire. To be able to draw such powerful talismans and refine such heaven-defying elixirs, he refused to sell them at a high price and sold them to Liang Qin Dajuan at a discount. She's an idiot, but I'm not. I'm just mixing in with that army of idiots, pretending to shout Mighty God Yi a few times, and I can casually buy mutated talismans, resell them, and earn more than 10 times the price. Ha ha ha, such a good identity. How can I be willing to quit? The bustling square slowly quieted down. Everyone stared at He Jinwen, dumbfounded. He Jinwen's face revealed a panicked expression. He opened his mouth and wanted to say, I'm not. I didn't. However, the formation below quickly lit up. Then, he blurted out, when Yiliang Chan was being suppressed by the Flowing Moon sect, I happened to be busy and didn't go to the Tianguang ruins. I didn't expect that I would become a senior member of Yiliang Chan's army and get the highest level identity token. This was truly a blessing in disguise. Not only did I manage to buy a bottleneck-breaking pill to break through my bottleneck, but I also have a huge deal waiting for me. Chu Tianyu looked at him condescendingly and said coldly, Who is it? What business is it that has come to you? He Jinwen's complexion was deathly pale. He covered his mouth tightly, but a gurgling sound came from his throat. Chapter 2437. He wanted to retreat from Tianguang ruins, but the punishment chains were still tied to his body, and he couldn't escape. He Jinwen's devouring, he looked at Dong Yulong with fear and panic. There was a flash of fear in Dong Yulong's eyes. Yiliang Chun Fuchen, what are you doing? Do you think you can extricate yourself by instigating He Jinwen to say a few lies? As Dong Yulong spoke, he raised his hand and swiftly withdrew the punishment chains. He Jinwen had a delighted expression and was about to retreat from Tianguang ruins. But just as he was about to shout retreat, the array below lit up again. Soon after, everyone heard his words. The number 1 ranker of the 9th grade Spirit Pivot Board, Master Dong Yulong, actually looked for me personally and gave me a huge pile of peak-grade elixirs and artifacts. He even gave me millions of crystals and asked me to think of ways to ruin the reputation of Yiliang Chun and his army. Ha ha! I would be a fool to not accept such a huge deal. Thus, I immediately gathered a group of men and used my Doyan's identity to obtain a few low-class identity tokens of Liangshan's army. They then did all sorts of arrogant things in Tianguang ruins and the real world to suppress other shops and ruin the reputation of Liangshan's army. Dong Yulong, that old man, is generous, but isn't very patient. Furthermore, he is even more ruthless than me. After I and my brothers beat up a few of them, he complained that we were too slow and that Liangshan's army didn't have enough reputation. He asked us to do something ruthless. That is why there is that young lady from White Moon City. We all know that the young lady is a member of Liangshan's army, and she worships Liangshan very much. But we want to frame her and ruin the reputation of Liangshan's army. That young lady's taste is truly wonderful. Ha ha ha. When she was pressed down by me, she was still shouting for God, "Ye to save me." I was too excited and didn't control my hands properly and killed her. He Jinwen's face was pale and ashen. His expression was distorted and fearful, but his voice was like a machine gun, and there wasn't even a stutter. The entire reincarnation plaza was in dead silence. But this time, it wasn't because of shock, but because of deep anger. "Oh, bastard! Bastard! You are not human. How can you treat my daughter like this? My poor daughter, boo-hoo. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to tear you to shreds." As the old man cried, he wanted to pounce over and tear He Jinwen to pieces. However, he was stopped by Chu Tianyu. "Uncle, don't be anxious. Miss Chun is a member of Liangshan's army. We will definitely make those who hurt Liangshan's army pay back 1,000-fold. What's more, even if He Jinwen is worse than a beast, he's just a knife in someone else's hand. The real culprit behind the scenes should be punished." "Nonsense." Dong Yulong's face was twisted as he screamed. "Liangshan, what do you mean by this? Do you think you can escape by letting He Jinwen bite this old man?" Chu Tianyu sneered. "Grandmaster Dong, what's the rush? He Jinwen has a belly full of words to say and hasn't finished yet. The so-called truth pill must be used together with the lie detection array to be effective. As long as He Jinwen is still in the lie detection array, he won't be able to say a single lie. As long as he opens his mouth, no matter what he originally wanted to say, he will spit out the words that he intentionally hid." Chapter 2438. Of course, appropriate questioning can make the truth hidden in his consciousness a little clearer. For example, Chu Tianyu looked at He Jinwen and said in a low voice, "Dong Yulong said you deliberately bid him. He did not instruct you to do so. He Jinwen, do you have anything to say?" "Ha! Dong Yulong, this old man is very cautious. When he gave us the task, he was always very careful and did not leave any evidence. But I have been in Purple Cloud domain for so many years, I am not a vegetarian. I guess that he might want to kill me after the matter is done, so I have already prepared a card. If this old thing dares to shed all pretense of cordiality, my brothers will immediately expose the matter. If we part without hard feelings, I can still use it as a threat in the future." Dong Yulong's face suddenly turned pale. The hand holding the broken fan could not help but tremble. He almost used all the strength in his body to shout out, "What truth pill? Lie detection array? Dong Yulong, have refined pills for so many years, and I have never even heard of it? By Ziliang, Su Qingling. And you guys, have you heard truth pill? No, right? You won't believe it, right?" Bai Ziliang frowned tightly and did not speak. The other pill masters also avoided Dong Yulong's line of sight without saying a word. Only Su Qingling smiled with interest and said, "I have been studying that lie detection array since just now. The heart is connected to the sea of consciousness, and the sea of consciousness is connected to the brain, heart, and soul. Maybe this lie detection array together with the pill can really make people speak the truth." Dong Yulong's face was ashen. "Su Qingling, what do you mean? Are you suspecting that all this is instigated by me?" Su Qingling casually brushed her long hair and smiled casually. "Master Dong, why are you so flustered and exasperated? People who don't know will think that you are guilty. Didn't this elder of Liangshan's army say that he has evidence to prove that you instigated it? Won't we know once he takes out the evidence?" He Jinwen's whole body trembled, desperately shaking his head and biting his lips. The old man could not bear it any longer. He rushed over and ruthlessly kicked his head. As soon as he opened his mouth, he confessed, "In my jade key, I secretly recorded the transaction between me and Dong Yulong with a photographic talisman. The talisman is in my jade key. No one can take it out except me." However, just as He Jinwen finished speaking, a talisman floated out from his jade key. It shakily falls into Mu Yan's hand. At the same time, little Tion's voice rang in her ears, as if he was asking for credit. "Idiot, is there anything in the Tianguang ruins that I, little Tion, can't get?" Mu Yan smiled. She didn't say any more nonsense and directly activated the talisman. Soon, a rundown temple appeared in front of everyone. Only He Jinwen and Dong Yulong were secretly meeting inside. Their conversation was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears through the light screen activated by the talisman. The content was almost the same as what He Jinwen had said. At the end, Dong Yulong said, "This is half of the reward. As long as you complete the task, there will be more benefits waiting for you." He Jinwen's eyes brightened. "What benefits?" Dong Yulong smiled faintly. "Do you know that immortal fairy Qing Wan refined an elixir on the ranking list? The Soaring Dragon Pill will give you a chance to directly ascend to the Xiuxin continent without having to advance to the Crossing Tribulation stage or cross the Thunder Tribulation." Chapter 2439. As long as you can completely ruin Yi Liangchen's reputation and make him hand over the Medicine King's inheritance, then the Rising Dragon Pill will be yours. In the image, He Jinwen's face was full of excitement, his eyes shining with greed and scheming. And the cultivators on the reincarnation square, whether they were part of Liang Chen's army or not, all felt chills all over their bodies. It was actually such a sinister scheme. One after another, it was vicious and cruel. Liang Chen's army had almost been dragged into hell, unable to rise again. If it wasn't for God Yi being strong enough to slaughter the 8th and 9th grade glazed and spirit pivot lists, if it wasn't for God Yi refining such a miraculous truth pill, then who would be able to clear the injustice of Liang Chen's army? Who would care about the truth of the matter? At that time, Liang Chen's army would be condemned by everyone, and Yi Liangchen would have no choice but to take the blame, withdraw from the pill competition, and hand over the Medicine King's inheritance. Thinking of such an ending, all of Liang Chen's army first felt their hearts palpitate. Then, it was an outburst of anger. "Dong Yulong, I am a fucking dog. How did our Liang Chen's army offend you for you to think of such a vicious method to deal with us? You're fucking jealous of our god Yi, right? And you even called yourself a master? More like dog shit. Hee. That Jun Xingwan is also not a good thing. Suppressing our god Yi time and time again. Isn't it because she covets our Medicine King's inheritance?" Lung Qingwan listened to the voices below, and the veins on her face bulged. Trash. Dong Yulong is an incompetent idiot. Such a great situation was actually forcefully turned around by that bitch Yi Liangchen. Just at this time, Dong Yulong looked towards her with a panicked and pleading gaze. Lung Qingwan sneered, and without thinking, she directly left Tianguang ruins. Before leaving, her gaze swept across a few people in the square. Those people immediately understood and shouted loudly, "Dong Yulong is not a good thing. What does that have to do with our immortal fairy Qingwan?" That's right, immortal fairy Qingwan was also deceived. What right do you have to scold her? Yi Liangchen might have slaughtered the Xing Lin, color glass, and spirit pivot lists, but don't forget that the person at the top of the coiling dragon lists, which is the hardest to refine, is still our immortal fairy Qingwan. Nowadays, any Tom, Dick, or Harry has the nerve to compare with our immortal fairy Qingwan. We won't do that. Lung Qingwan supporters both openly and secretly flattered one and stepped on the other, making Liang Chen's army very unhappy. But right now, they couldn't care less about Lung Qingwan. They only wanted to kill Dong Yulong and He Jinwen, these two bastards. After today, Dong Yulong's name would disappear from the spiritual pivot list. As for Chu Tianyu, he used the truth pill and the lie-detecting array to thoroughly cleanse Liang Chen's army. From then on, this group that only existed in the Tianguang ruins became truly indestructible. Those who had ulterior motives and wanted to fish in troubled waters could no longer step in and reap any benefits. Under Chu Tianyu's organization, with Yi Liangshan as the core and Beikue Xiangwan, Easy Bro, Sister Hua, and Old Ma as the cornerstone, Liang Chen's army gradually expanded and became as firm as a boulder. At some point in the future, they would also set off a monstrous storm in the entire cultivation continent. Of course, this was all in the future. And at this time, Lang Qingwan, who left Tianguang ruins in a fluster and exasperation, received an extremely good news. Chapter 2440. Marquis Chu's Ambition 1. Are you sure that Junmayan is really dead? Lung Qingwan stared at the subordinate of the Bloodsword sect. The man bowed and said, From Qingyun World to Azure Blue World and Ziyun World, there was no news of Junmai along the way. Including that Xiaoyao sect, it has long been empty and desolate. This subordinate also went to the nearby Gue sect to inquire. They also said that they have not seen Junmayan. More than half a month ago, they also heard crying from the Xiaoyao sect. Lung Qingwan's eyes suddenly lit up. Good. This is really good. As long as a person is still alive, it is impossible to disappear without leaving a trace. Now that no one has seen Junmayan, coupled with the crying from the Xiaoyao sect, it proves that that bitch was really killed by Master. Previously, Lung Qingwan didn't confirm Junmayan's death. Plus, she thought highly of herself, thinking that she could crush everyone with her strength and become famous. But now, she was slapped in the face by Yu Liangshan again and again, and now her limelight was stolen. A mere bitch actually dared to step on her, and that group of idiots from Tianguang ruins dared to mock her. Wait until she seduces the monarch's heart. She will definitely let everyone in Tianguang ruins die without a burial ground. That's right. Why should she compete with a lowly cultivator from the Xiozhen continent? Wasn't the most important thing to seize the monarch's heart? Lung Qingwan took a deep breath and slowly took off the veil that had been covering her face. It's time to let everyone know that she is Junmayan, the future mistress of the polar domain. Ziyun World, Dingbeihou Mansion. Marquis, spare me. Spare me. Bang. A bloody mist burst. Countless pieces of flesh and broken bones splattered in all directions. Chu Xinyan, wearing a black robe and wrapped tightly, stepped on the flesh and broken bones on the ground. Hearing the creaking sound coming from under his feet, his irritable mood became a little better. Trash. Can't even do such a small thing. Marquis, Elder Lu Yu said that there is someone who wants to see you. Chu Xinyan said coldly, Let him in. Lu Yu was a short and wretched-looking middle-aged man. His back was naturally stooped, and his hair was sparse. His skin did not have any wrinkles, but it was greasy all year round. When such a person walked outside, he could make people avoid him and be disgusted. But how many people could have imagined that this person was actually a leaving Aperture Realm pinnacle expert? He had a perverted hobby of abusing beautiful women. Regardless of whether they were men or women, as long as they were in his hands, he would torture them until they were black and blue. However, he also had a shrewd mind. He did things in a sinister and ruthless manner, and his strength was extremely great. Therefore, he was also Chu Xinyan's most capable confidant. As soon as Lu Yu entered, he smelled a pungent stench. What's more, there was a disgusting, sticky feeling under his feet. But his expression didn't change in the slightest. With a fawning expression, he knelt before Chu Xinyan, kneeling on the pile of broken flesh and bones. Marquis, I found traces of the air. When Chu Xinyan heard this, his eyes lit up and his breathing quickened. Really? Where is that unfilial son? If you found him, why didn't you bring him back? Lu Yu shook his head and said, The air didn't appear in reality. He appeared in Tianguang ruins with the identity of Fuchen and followed Yi Liangchen. Bastard! Chu Xinyan's face suddenly distorted. He really knew Yi Liangchen's identity. Chapter 2441. Marquis Chu's Ambition 2. He fiercely slammed his palm on the redwood table. With a bang, the table shattered into powder and fell into the pool of blood. That bunch of trash still haven't found out Yi Liangchen's identity? Lu Yu shook his head. Yi Liangchen is a special user of Tianguang ruins. Tianguang ruins protect her very tightly. Tianguang ruins doesn't even allow anyone to speak about her secrets. We have also investigated Long Tongue and didn't find anyone that matches Yi Liangchen. We really can't figure out anything, but we can be sure that Yi Liangchen and Long Tongue have a close relationship. His eyes swiveled as he chuckled. Marquis, you've made the right move in forcing Dragon Soar Academy to make a bet with us this time. Long Tongue doesn't have a powerful pill refiner. I guess that Yi Liangchen participated in the pill competition because of Long Tongue's request. If we win this competition, 6 Stars Pagoda and Chaotic Pagoda will be ours. I heard that cultivating in the Chaotic Pagoda will have unexpected effects. It might even be beneficial to you. Even if we lose, Yi Liangchen will still have to go to the Lan family Imperial Palace to participate in the second round of the finals, right? At that time, can she still hide her identity? Even the Crown Prince will be under your control again. Hearing Lu Yu's analysis, the anger in Chu Xinyan's eyes slowly faded and turned into excitement and desire. As long as he knew Yi Liangchen's identity, it meant that he had obtained both the mystical Sky Pearl and the Medicine King's inheritance. At that time, would he still have to worry about not being able to solve his current predicament? Chu Xinyan said faintly, I want to know Yi Liangchen's identity. I also want Chaotic Pagoda and 6 Stars Pagoda. Of course. Lu Yu smiled. 6 Stars Pagoda and Chaotic Pagoda are treasures that all cultivators yearn for. Long Tongue is just an academy that nurtures golden core cultivators. What right does it have to possess them? Marquis, don't worry. With that fairy, we will definitely win. When Chu Xinyan heard this, he coldly snorted, Immortal fairy, are you sure she can beat Yi Liangchen? In Tianguang ruins, Yi Liangchen's fame is much greater than hers. The subordinate who had just been crushed by him was the one who had reported Dong Yulong and Lung Qingwan's defeat in the Tianguang ruins. Chu Xinyan had never imagined that a little girl, who had popped out of nowhere, would have such great ability to ruin his plans time and time again. As for that so-called immortal fairy of the immortal continent, she appeared to be so lofty and arrogant, but in reality, she was so vulnerable. Lu Yu smiled mysteriously and said in a low voice, Marquis, the reason why Yi Liangchen is famous is because the people in Tianguang ruins have never seen Xinji's true appearance and don't know her true identity. Chu Xinyan revealed a surprised expression. Lu Yu immediately took 2 steps forward and whispered a few words in his ear. Chu Xinyan's eyes suddenly widened. He said excitedly, Is what you said true? Absolutely. Lu Yu licked his lips, suppressed the desire in his heart, and said faintly, I have seen the face under the veil with my own eyes. She really deserves the title of exceedingly beautiful. If he could play with such a stunningly beautiful woman and listen to her cries, it would be more than enough for him. However, Lu Yu had always been aware of the severity of things, so he immediately restrained his thoughts. Now, Xinji finally can't hold back and is preparing to reveal her true identity in Tianguang ruins. Chapter 2442. Marquis Chu's Ambition 3. Marquis, don't worry. Immortal Fairy's reputation and strength are not any worse than Yi Liangchen's. In addition, she is very skilled in alchemy. The alchemy competition will definitely be ours. Chu Xinyan's eyes shone brightly. His blood was boiling. It was as if he could already see the future where he controlled everything. He opened his mouth and was about to speak, but his expression suddenly changed. He spat out a mouthful of blood. This mouthful of blood was not only blood, it was also mixed with many pieces of internal organs. Chu Xinyan's face was full of panic. He quickly took off his gloves and saw that his originally smooth and firm skin was rapidly withering, becoming like cracked tree bark. No, not only his hands, but his whole body, legs, feet. Other than his face, all the skin on his body had turned into dried old tree bark. No, 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 no. Chu Xinyan screamed hysterically. How can this be? Why is it starting so soon? Call Wang He over quick. Quick. Soon, an old man with white hair and a beard stumbled in with a medicine box on his back. Marquis, your body is starting to collapse. If you want to maintain it, you can only use the lifespan of someone with a similar bloodline to you. Chu Xinyan stared at him with bloodshot eyes. Other than this, what other methods are there? Wang He revealed a difficult expression. Chu Xinyan smiled sinisterly. I don't raise trash. If you can't cure it, you know what will happen to you. This subordinate can cure it. I can cure it. Wang He screamed. There's another method. Marquis, you need to find 36 nascent soul experts and make them willingly allow you to devour their souls. But this method has a certain risk. If one of these 36 people resist, you will suffer a backlash. Moreover, the 36 level 9 nascent soul cultivators would die without a doubt. Chu Xinyan did not care. Go pick 36 nascent soul cultivators for my death squad. Seeing Wang He's horrified expression, Chu Xinyan sneered. These people were born to be loyal to me. It is their honor to die for me. Most importantly, these death warriors have been brainwashed since they were young. They would never resist being devoured. If the death warriors were gone, they could just train them again. His everlasting life and grand ambitions were the most important. Wang He said in a trembling voice, There's one more thing. Devouring 36 living souls will take at least 2 months to complete, but the time it can last is less than half a year. Chu Xinyan frowned. Half a year was enough. In any case, he would soon find Chu Tianyu, that vile spawn, as well as the mysterious Heaven Pearl and the Medicine King's inheritance. However, in 2 months of seclusion, he would not be able to personally control the alchemy competition. Lu Yu smiled and said, Marquis, don't worry. This subordinate will personally supervise the competition. I guarantee that when you come out of seclusion, the Chaotic Pagoda, 6 Stars Pagoda, Yi Liangshan, and the Prince will all be sent to you. If I fail to do my job, I'm willing to bring my head to you. A smile appeared on Chu Xinyan's face. Good. As long as you do this for this Marquis, you can play with all the beauties in the world. Even Immortal Fairy. Lu Yu excitedly swallowed his saliva. He bowed and said, Lu Yu obeys. Chapter 2443. A 90% similar face, asking for votes, Tianguang Ruins. Junior sister has been hiding in the Medicine King's inheritance space for the past few days. It's not enough for her to slaughter the Xinglin, Liuli, and spiritual pivot lists. She still wants to slaughter the last 10th rank-coiled dragon list. TSK, 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 Sixth Sister is too cruel. I mourn for those who want to compete with her on the same list every time. Yin Ruhan couldn't help but shake her head as she listened to the discussion of her juniors, revealing a helpless smile. When she first stepped into Xian Realm, she still wanted to keep a low profile. Little did she know that as long as Junior Sister was here, keeping a low profile was like floating clouds. Moreover, how many skills can Junior Sister be proficient in? Sword skills, support, control, talismans, alchemy. Is there anything in this world that she can't learn? Hearing Yin Ruhan's words, the others couldn't help but shiver. With such a genius Junior Sister, it's also very hard for them to catch up. Chu Moli said with an unfathomable smile, Have you all forgotten? These are not Junior Sister's main occupation. Not main occupation. Everyone was stunned at first. Then their expressions became very interesting, because they all remembered the words that junior sister had said. Sorry, I forgot to tell senior brothers. My main occupation is a doctor. I'm a music doctor. Huh. What fucking main occupation is a doctor? Luo, you coughed lightly. At least, Sixth sister absolutely doesn't know how to cook needlework. Thinking of Mu Yin burning down the kitchen and blowing up the cave, everyone couldn't help but laugh. Yin Ruhan. All right, stop fooling around. We came here to see if Chu Tianyu managed Liangqin's army well for junior sister. Let's go to Laozi. Before he could finish speaking, someone in the reincarnation square suddenly let out a cry of alarm. Floating Life Pavilion is going to sell the 10th grade elixir refined by immortal fairy Qingwan. Moreover, the owner of Floating Life Pavilion also revealed that a shocking news will be released, saying that it's about immortal fairy Qingwan. I heard from Qingwan supporters that once this news is released, immortal fairy Qingwan's fame will certainly surpass Liangqin's. Yin Ruhan and the others looked at each other, seeing the doubt in each other's eyes. They quickly followed the crowd to Floating Life Pavilion. At this moment, the surroundings of the Floating Dreams Pavilion were already packed with people. Everyone looked up at the top floor of the Floating Dreams Pavilion. Standing, there was a woman with a veil over her face. She was none other than Lung Qingwan. The woman was surrounded by more than 10 beautiful maidservants. Like stars surrounding the moon, they surrounded Lung Qingwan. Meanwhile, the owner of the Floating Life Pavilion stood behind her with respect and humility. The people below couldn't help but make a ruckus. Immortal Fairy Qingwan, I heard that you want to sell Tier 10 pills. May I ask if you will sell the legendary Soaring Dragon pill that can allow people to ascend? Jun Qingwan, you've boasted and slandered great god Yi time and time again. What are you trying to do now? Her. Do you really think that our Liangqun army will be afraid of you? Lung Qingwan's gaze looked down from above, coldly sweeping across everyone below. Then, with a light hook of her finger on the veil that was originally covering her face disappeared instantly, revealing a beautiful face that could cause the downfall of nations. The clamor below came to an abrupt end. Some people opened their mouths wide, mesmerized and amazed. Someone sucked in a cold breath. Some people's saliva slid down from the corner of their mouths, unaware of it. Seeing the face under this veil, the hearts of the Xiao Yao 6 abruptly sank. Each and every one of their faces turned completely unsightly, because Lung Qingwan's face was actually 90% similar to their junior sister, Jun Mayan. Tomorrow, beginning of summer, tea eggs, glutinous rice, bamboo shoots. My dears, what's your beginning of summer's delicacies, the second last day of the double monthly tickets? Do you still have tickets, he? Chapter 2444. Yin Ruhan and the rest could recognize that Lung Qingwan's face was similar to Mayan's. Naturally, the others could recognize her as well. After all, alluring, killing God Mayan's reputation in the entire devouring cultivation continent was like the sun in the sky. She was not inferior to ranking slaughtering demon Yi Liangqun at all. Soon, someone exclaimed, Jun Mayan, my God, immortal fairy Qingwan is actually the devastatingly murderous monarch Mayan? How is this possible? God, Jun doesn't know how to make pills at all. How is it impossible? Look up at that face. In this world, other than alluring, killing God Mayan, who else has such an unparalleled beauty? He. So what if God Jun knows how to make pills? Yi Liangqun is omnipotent? The great god Jun's talent is unparalleled in this world. The crowd was in a hubbub. As Lung Qingwan listened to the discussions of the people below, a mocking smile appeared on her face. Then, she became angry and jealous. She didn't expect that Jun Mayan, this slut who came to the Shojin continent with her insignificant mortal body from the Yenwu continent, actually didn't fade into the crowd. Instead, she has such a flourishing reputation and people who support her. And she, Lung Qingwan, was supposed to be the high and mighty young master of the Tianyi clan, the future mistress of the polar domain. But because of this bitch, she had to hide and live under someone else's roof like a stray dog. What right did this bitch have? However, thinking that June Mayan had already died in Lung Yuexia's hands, her identity and appearance were all taken by her. Lung Qingwan's burning and resentful heart calmed down, and even carried a bit of complacency and pride. She used June Mayan's identity to suppress another bitch, Yi Liangqin. She ruined her reputation and made her kneel under her feet. Wasn't this a great feeling? Suddenly, a weak voice came from the crowd. Why do I remember hearing that June Mayan is Yi Liangqin? The timeline of their appearance is almost exactly the same. I heard that too. The first place Yi Liangqin appeared in was the Starry School. Many students in the school said that God June and God Yi are the same person. This made Lung Qingwan's supporters angry. Are you kidding me? Just look at Yi Liangqin's ordinary face. It's already good enough that I didn't call him an ugly freak. How dare she compare him to the June family's peerless beauty? Bah! An ugly freak dares to call herself the devastatingly beautiful god of death? Maybe those rumors were spread by Yap Liangqin himself. Very likely. After all, even if Yi Liangqin's appearance was improved by 100%, he would still look like a loser. In reality, he would probably feel so inferior that he didn't even have the face to see anyone. He would always fantasize that he was as beautiful as June Mo Xie. Ha ha ha. Even June Mayan supporters are sneering incessantly. We don't care if your Yi Liangqin is fucking around outside, but he's fucking shameless to try and blackmail our great god June. I admit that Yap Liangqin is quite capable to be able to slaughter all 6 of the Dragon Ascension rolls. However, to put it bluntly, slaughtering a roll is just slaughtering a roll. How can it be compared to a real battle? I'm afraid some people don't know. Our great god June was able to kill a nascent soul and astral projection cultivator in the Woodfern's secret realm with his golden core cultivation. Can someone who slaughtered a roll do that? Hearing the noisy crowd, the 6 unfettered men looked at each other. They were speechless. Chapter 2445. Little junior sister is really worthy of being a female devil who can set off a reign of terror. One person can create 3 different groups of supporters. One group is Yi Liangqin supporters. One group is supporters of Mayan strength. And another group is those who are bewitched by the stunning appearance of fatally beautiful killing god. In Bai Xie's words, it's face powder. But these 3 groups of people clearly support the same person, yet they can mix together and quarrel with each other. This strange scene simply makes them gasp in amazement. But the 6 people slightly narrow their eyes, looking at Lung Qingwan standing above, with a smile that isn't smile. Someone actually dares to pretend to be their little junior sister. She's simply tired of living. Just then, someone among the cultivators suddenly says loudly, "Immortal fairy Qingwan, may I ask if you are fatally beautiful killing god Mayan?" Lung Qingwan smiles contemptuously, saying with a cold face, "I don't want to answer this nonsense. Today, I let you come here because I'm preparing to sell the 10th grade snow soul pill and the drifting cloud pill. A 7th grade elixir, in my eyes, isn't even as good as trash. Today, I'm selling the 10th grade elixir to let you know what a truly perfect elixir is." The owner of the Floating Life Pavilion, who is standing on the side, immediately straightens his back and says with a proud face, "This shop is fortunate to have the favor of great god June and is authorized to sell the 10th grade snow soul pill and the drifting cloud pill. Each elixir will be sold for 80 million high-grade crystals." Hearing this price, the cultivators below all suck in a mouthful of cold air. 80 million high-grade crystals. Even if it's a 10th grade elixir, isn't it too expensive? The 9th grade Yang Restoration pill refined by great god Yi is also less than 1 million, and this doesn't even include the discount given to Yi Liangqin's army. Yang Restoration pill is a top-notch healing medicine. A 9th grade elixir can bring the dead back to life, and even extend a cultivator's lifespan. And to refine the Yang Restoration Pill, to devour. The elixirs needed are extremely precious and hard to find in the world. But the Yang Restoration Pill is extremely difficult to refine. A little carelessness, and all the rare elixirs will be wasted. Therefore, when a 9th grade Yang Restoration Pill comes out, it directly occupies the top spot on the spiritual pivot list. No one is surprised. And now, the #1 shop in the world had started to sell the 9th grade Yang Rejuvenation Pill, although there was only one. However, the person who bought was his master, who was on the verge of death. He knelt in front of the #1 shop in the world and kowtowed 9 times. This was something that the entire Tianguang ruins knew. As for the Snow Soul Pill and the Drifting Cloud Pill, even if they were 10th grade pills, they were only ordinary high-grade pills. Although the Snow Soul Pill was also a healing medicine, it was mainly used for non-fatal external injuries. It was impossible for the Snow Soul Pill to extend one's lifespan, not to mention bring the dead back to life. In terms of value, the Snow Soul Pill was far inferior to the Yang Rejuvenation Pill. As for the Drifting Cloud Pill, a pill used to remove inner demons, it was completely incomparable to the barrier-breaking pill and Yang Return Pill. If the legendary Rising Dragon Pill was sold for 80 million crystals, he could still accept it. But if it was just the Snow Soul Pill and the Drifting Cloud Pill, even 10 million crystals would be too expensive for many people. Lung Xinguan was furious when she heard her subordinates belittling her Snow Soul Pill and Drifting Cloud Pill and praising the Yang Restoration Pill made by Yi Liangqin. But then she sneered again. These ignorant and foolish people. Very soon, they will kneel and beg her to sell the Snow Soul Pill and the Drifting Cloud Pill to them. The owner of the Floating Life Pavilion raised his hand and lightly pressed down. He used his spiritual power to stimulate his voice and said loudly, "Everyone, please calm down." Chapter 2446. I, Lu Xingze, swear on the 100 years of the Floating Dreams Pavilion's reputation that the 2 pills refined by God Jun are definitely worth the price. With a flip of his hand, a translucent glass goblet appeared in his hand. The people below quickly recognized it, and they couldn't help but be speechless. The Floating Dreams Pavilion really had a deep foundation. The treasure appraisal glass goblet was unique to Tianguang ruins and couldn't be brought to the real world. But the price was sky high. Ordinary people wouldn't spend money to buy something that only existed in the virtual world. It wasn't expensive to go to the appraisal pavilion to appraise it. But the owner of the Floating Dreams Pavilion took it out so casually. Lu Xingze respectfully asked Lung Qinguan for permission. Only after receiving her approval did he place a Snow Soul Pill into the goblet. Soon, the goblet lit up with a dazzling light. A screen of light appeared in front of everyone. The data on the light screen was the composition of the Snow Soul Pill, its medicinal effect, its saturation of spiritual energy, and its purity. When everyone's eyes fell on the data behind the purity, someone let out an earth-shattering cry. 90% purity? How is that possible? I remember that Dong Yulong's Boundless Essence Pill was only 80% purity. Master Su Qingling's Clear Void Pill was only 82% purity, right? Decades ago, there was a top-notch alchemist in the cultivation continent. Everyone fought over her pills, and each one was sold at a sky-high price. But I remember that the highest purity of the medicinal pills refined by that master was only 89%. Is that true? The 10th grade pills refined by God Jun can really reach 90% purity. Hearing the exclamations of disbelief from the crowd, Lu Xingze felt honored as he watched Lung Qinguan devour him with even more reverence. This time, when the Woodfern's secret realm opened, Lu Xingze had a woman he had admired for a long time. Only after she came out did she tell Lu Xingze how dangerous the trip had been. If not for Mayan's help, most of them would have died in the secret realm. As early as at the Deer Cry banquet, Lu Shengze was fascinated by God Jun and the Xiao Yao seven sons. This time, the woman he admires has returned safely, making him even more grateful towards Mayan. He had already made up his mind that he would make the great god Jun the champion of the pill competition. The first stage of the elixir competition was related to the abilities of the elixir masters and their popularity in Tianguang ruins. As the owner of the Floating Life Pavilion, Lu Shengze's popularity and status in the Tianguang ruins were self-evident. With his support, Lung Qingwan could be said to be like a tiger that had grown wings. As soon as Yun Ruhan and the others left Tianguang ruins, they immediately went to find Mayan. 6. Senior sister. Someone is impersonating you. Mu Yin had just come out of the inheritance space to catch her breath. She was stunned when she heard that. Someone is pretending to be Yap Liang Chun again. As soon as the words left her mouth, she awkwardly touched her nose. This was because Chu Tianyu, who was standing to the side and preparing to report the situation of Liang Chen's army, heard this and his expression darkened. However, he quickly recovered his calm and indifferent expression. Mu Yin coughed lightly and was about to speak when she heard Yun Ruhan say, "It's not Yap Liang Chun, it's Jun Mayan." The 6 of them talked at once and very quickly recounted the events that happened in the Tianguang ruins. When they heard that the immortal fairy Jun Qingwan in Tianguang ruins actually had the same face as her. Chapter 2447. Mu Yan's pupils immediately shrank. A name suddenly flashed through her mind. Tianyi Min, Lung Qingwan. Back then, in the Yinwu continent, he led the Flowing Moon sect to attack him and Xiao Bao, the woman who claims to be Di Ming Ju's fiancée. No wonder she found the name Immortal Fairy Qingwan familiar. However, back then, she had seen Lung Qingwan's face, and it was obviously different from her own. Why did her appearance change? How dare you impersonate me? She, Jun Mayan, wasn't dead. How could she be casually impersonated? Wasn't Lung Qingwan afraid that he would expose her? Dead. Suddenly, Mayan's heart sinks. Who was that crazy woman who came to kill him in the Azure Cloud world? Now that he thought about it, the way that woman attacked seemed to be exactly the same as the 2 assassins sent by the Heaven's Physician sect. The crazy woman was also a member of Tianyi Men. She personally saw him fall into the God refining abyss and thought that he was dead. And for some reason, Lung Qingwan's appearance was similar to his. That was why she dared to impersonate him so openly. So here was the problem. Lung Qingwan impersonates her own eyes and devours. What is it? A dignified immortal from the Xiaoxing continent wouldn't come here just for a small pill competition, right? Moreover, didn't Di Ming Ju say that Tian Yimin no longer exists? Mu Yin frowns and doesn't say anything. Luo, you saw her pale expression and couldn't help but worry. 6. Senior sister. Are you all right? Do you know this Jun Qingwan? Mu Yin shook her head. I'm fine. She paused for a moment, then smiled coldly and said, I've roughly guessed her identity. Lung Yamal wanted to ask who that slut was, but she was stopped by Chu Moli. He looks up at Mayan. Do you need our help? As soon as he said that, the other 5 immediately came to their senses. That's right. Who is Jun Mayan? Is there anyone more convincing than the people of our Xiaoyao school? They rubbed their palms together and said excitedly, Let's go to Tianguang ruins to verify our identities, and then we'll smash that shameless immortal fairy's face. However, Mu Yin shook his head and said with a calm expression, No need. I have my own ways to deal with her. He sees Mayan slightly lowering her eyebrows and turning around to enter the room. The others anxiously wanted to follow them, but they were stopped by Chu Moli. 3rd senior brother. Why do I feel that junior sister is very angry? Was she angry that someone had impersonated her? Should we help her prove it? Chu Moli shook his head and smiled. Since little junior sister said there's no need, then there's definitely no need. What's more, have you ever seen anyone take advantage of junior sister? Who is this so-called immortal fairy Qingwan? but it seemed that he had already stepped on her reverse scale. He was really curious about what would happen to this woman. Within the Medicine King's inheritance space, Mu Yin is trying to refine a 10th grade elixir. In a short period of time, she had grasped the refinement of a 7th grade Dan, but there was still some distance before she could perfectly concoct a 10th grade Dan. The last spirit herb was put in. The alchemy cauldron suddenly emitted a sizzling sound and exploded with a bang. Mu Yin was caught off guard and was directly hit by the aftermath of the explosion. Her entire body flew out. However, before she could hit the wall, she felt her body being dragged up by a strong wind. At the same time, a cool aura poured into her body, calming her restless mind. Chapter 2448. After standing still, Mayan sees a cute boy opposite her looking at her with a twisted eyebrow. Although this boy tries his best to pretend to be a mature young man with a dignified appearance, but Mayan can still see the worry in his eyes. Cough, good disciple, what's wrong with you? Such a simple refining elixir, you can make a mistake if it gets out. You are the disciple of the king of medicine. Isn't that shameful to me? Han Chujiu was about to say something, but when he saw Mayan's pale face and gloomy expression, the words that were about to come out of his mouth immediately shrink back. Good disciple, don't be sad. Master didn't mean to scold you. You have done very well. In such a short time, she learned how to refine 7th and 8th grade elixirs, and every elixir met his requirements. This can no longer be described as very well. Han Chujiu always knew how high his requirements were, and how abnormal he was. He had originally been a good disciple, but he couldn't do it. He wanted to teach him a lesson and comfort him, a stick and a carrot, so that his good disciple would worship and admire him even more. He didn't expect that Mayan did far better than he expected. This made Han Chujiu proud, but also somewhat uncomfortable. His disciple was too powerful and smart, and the master couldn't be of use. What should he do? Now that his precious disciple has encountered setbacks and troubles, Han Chujiu naturally wants to comfort her carefully. He wants to enjoy being a master. Mayan smiled and didn't hide it. She wanted to participate in the competition, but a competitor pretended to be her and briefly told him about it. Han Chujiu exploded when he heard it. Who dared to pretend to be Han Chujiu's disciple? She also wants to steal his disciple's inheritance? Bah! Is that kind of trash qualified to be Han Chujiu's disciple? Han Chujiu, good disciple, you can tolerate this kind of trash? You must expose her conspiracy in public, so that she can't turn over for the rest of her life. Mayan looked at Xiao Jiu's master's red cheeks, and couldn't help but laugh. If she didn't say it, who would think that this cute Shota boy is the only king of medicine in the world? The annoyance in her heart was also replaced by warmth and emotion. She gently shook her head. I can't expose her in real life. How could Mu Yin not want to expose Lung Qingwan's impersonation in public? But she couldn't. Once she appears, the people of Tiani Min will know that she is not dead. At that time, the crazy woman might not only target him, but also the other disciples of the Xiaoyao sect. This is something that Mayan absolutely cannot tolerate. Her lips curled into a proud and arrogant smile as she said, I don't need to prove my identity. I can still beat her to a pulp. Besides, what we're fighting for now is the pill competition. Naturally, we'll have to use pills to determine the winner. Mu Yan's eyes turned to Han Chujiu and smiled. Jiu Shifu, you are Shengzhou Medicine King, and I am your only disciple. Do you think I will lose to others in terms of Dan? Han Chujiu immediately jumped up. How is this possible? This Medicine King's disciple is invincible under the heavens. Who can compare? Mu Yin resisted the urge to pinch her master's face. She smiled and said, So, Shifu, don't worry. I will soon let her know that she doesn't have enough strength to pretend to be me, Mu Yin. That's just asking to slap her own face. Han Chujiu snorted, but he still felt a little refreshed. But, in the end, he still fulfilled his little disciple's wish. Baidu Search UC Book League website so that you can experience the latest and fastest chapters. Chapter 2449. However, he still can't help but wonder, my good disciple, since you've thought it through so thoroughly, why did you make such a simple mistake in alchemy? Muyan's face sinks. Her fingers subconsciously stroke her fingers. There is the void spirit ring that Deming Ju gave her. It's just hidden by her. Ordinary people can't see it. She is silent for a long time. Then she whispers, as long as I think that he might be lenient towards that face. From hearing Lung Qingwan pretending to be her, to figuring out the identity of Lung Qingwan and the crazy woman. Muyan's mind is not filled with anger at being impersonated, nor is it the fear of being chased. Instead, it's a kind of sour and unhappy emotion, filling her heart and occupying all her thoughts. So much so that she made such a low-level mistake in alchemy. Deming Ju said that he would destroy Tian Yimin, but left Lung Qingwan. Why? Is it because of Lung Qingwan's face, or because of their friendship that moved his heart? No matter which answer it is, it makes Mu Yin restless. If Deming Ju is in front of her, she will definitely grab the man's lapel and ruthlessly interrogate him. But why is that man so far away from her? She can't touch him, see him, or feel him. Mu Yin smiles bitterly. In fact, I know that things shouldn't be like what I think, but I'm still not happy. Probably, she's just jealous, that's all. Moreover, she hasn't seen Deming Ju for such a long time, and her longing has overflowed into grievances and bitterness. She only needs a little primer, and it will ferment. Mu Yan's words are vague, but she quickly adjusts her mood and re-immerses herself in alchemy. On the side, Han Chujio touches his chin, revealing a thoughtful look. His good disciple has a sweetheart. He already knew this. But his good disciple's sweetheart actually went behind his back and fell in love with that impostor. Are you kidding me? Is he, Han Chujio's precious disciple, worthy of a mere mortal? This shameless idiot got his disciple's favor, but he still dares to be fickle and flirt everywhere? Damn it, this is really unbearable. We're the immortals of Xiaoxing continent. Does he think that he, the disciple of the sacred ancestor medicine king, is easy to bully? Han Chujio angrily leaves the medicine king's inheritance. His consciousness leaves the medicine king hall without stopping and goes to the polar domain. What about Deming Ju? Tell him to come out. Han Yi and Elder Chong hurriedly run out to greet him. Xiaojio, why are you here? Han Chujio, get out of the way. I am looking for Deming Ju. Tell him to come out and see me. Elder Chong coughed lightly. Don't be rude. How can you call the Lord by his name? Han Chujio impatiently said, last time, my disciple's medicine saved that stupid dog Xinglang's life and also cured Deming Ju's poison. Deming Ju personally promised to owe me a favor. I want him to return the favor now. Where is he? Could it be that the exalted extreme domain sovereign lord wants to act shamelessly? Elder Chong rubbed his nose and wanted to sigh. Hanyi doesn't dare to offend this great god who once saved Di Jun. He says with a smile, Master Medicine King, Jun has gone to the border and hasn't returned yet. He did not finish his sentence. A deep and resonant voice came from the distant horizon. What do you want me to do? Say it. Elder Chong and Han Yi are overjoyed. They kneel on the ground. Greetings, Jun. A handsome, godlike man appears in front of the three people in a twinkling of an eye. Baidu Search UC Book League website so that you can experience the latest and fastest chapters. All are updated in seconds. Chapter 2450. The powerful pressure and the aura of a monarch made all the living beings in the extreme emperor palace bow their heads and submit to him willingly. Only Han Chujio, after being shocked for a moment, immediately rushes in front of Deming Ju. Deming Ju, the Kunlun wood and phoenix grass that you said, this old man can ask for it later. But first, help me do one thing. Diming-ju raises an eyebrow. What is it? Han Chujio grits his teeth. Someone is bullying my baby disciple. I want you to personally support my baby disciple. Han Yi couldn't help but laugh. Medicine Wang Darren, are you possessed? Your baby disciple is just a mortal in the Xiojin continent. You want us, the Emperor of the Polar Domain, to support a mortal? Han Chujio directly give Han Yi a cold stare. What mortal? That is my Han Chujio's disciple. Han Yi, you bastard dog, if you dare to say one more word about my disciple, believe it or not, I will poison you. Han Yi is so scared that he immediately stops talking. Diming-ju is a bit absent-minded. The netherworld and the devil's domain move. The border is constantly disturbed. As the emperor of the polar domain, he cannot leave the Xiojin continent. He hasn't been able to return to Mu Yan's side for a long time to see her and hug her. When Han Chujio mentions his baby disciple in the Xiojin continent, Diming-ju's longing for Mu Yan overflows. His hand gently touches the void spirit ring on his finger, concealing his true emotions, and faintly says, Medicine Wang, how do you want Ben Jun to support your disciple? Han Chujio sneers. That man with eyes but no eyes, after getting my baby disciple's favor, he still dares to hook up with other women. He deserves to die 10,000 times. Diming-ju, I want you to go to the Xiojin continent and pretend to be my disciple's fiancé. Let that man see that my disciple is a rare treasure. There are many men who would rush to have her. Then, chop that womanizer and his lover into 180 pieces and throw them all to the dogs. Han Yi couldn't help but laugh. Medicine Wang Duran, didn't you say last time that your baby disciple absolutely doesn't like Jun Shang, and that Jun Shang shouldn't covet her? Why did she change her mind so quickly and let you pretend to be her fiancé? Han Chujio gritted her teeth in anger. He gloomily looks at Han Yi. Little lackey Han, take a guess. If I make you impotent, that kidding May won't even look at you. Oh, that's right. You can stay under the shadow demon forever. Han Yi immediately clamps his thighs together, only feeling a cold breeze between his crotch and his chrysanthemum. He's so scared that he doesn't dare to speak again. Diming-ju coldly says, Impossible. Impossible. Why is it impossible? Han Chujio jumped in anger. Diming-ju, you bastard, do you want to be ungrateful? Don't forget that the antidote to the sway poison was refined by my precious disciple. Without my precious disciple, how many people would die in the polar domain? You would have died a long time ago. Elder Chang berated. Little Jio, don't be rude to the emperor. Han Chujio coldly snorted and said, Diming-ju, don't forget, without my apprentice, you would have been cold. This should be elegant enough, right? Elder Chang, Diming-ju's complexion doesn't change. He faintly says, Ben Jun can support your apprentice and punish the people who bullied her. But pretending to be her fiancé is absolutely impossible. Ben Jun already has someone in his heart. Baidu Search, UC Book League, website, letting you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 2451. Han Yi couldn't help but interrupt. Wang Darren, I've already said that Jun Shang already has a fiancée. How can he have an ambiguous relationship with another woman? If Miss Jun and the little master learn about it, won't the world be in chaos? Han Chujio unhappily said, Who can be better than my disciple? More. Diming-ju's cold eyes swept over to him. He bitterly shut his mouth and snorted. My baby disciple is so good. You want to touch him, but I won't let you. In short, Diming-ju, I'm telling you, no matter what, you have to help my disciple. Otherwise, I will not let you go. Diming-ju nodded his head. Jun Shang can't leave the Xiojin continent in the near future. He doesn't mind promising Han Chujio to support his apprentice. In any case, once this matter is settled, he will rush to Mu Yan's side without a moment's delay. Helping Han Chujio's apprentice is just a matter of convenience. Han Chuju nodded with satisfaction. Don't worry, now is not the time for you to appear. Didn't my good apprentice say that he is going to participate in the competition? Then let Deming Ju shine on the stage during the match and blind the dog eyes of that couple. Deming Ju is not good at other things, but his appearance is really good. That scumbag will certainly be ashamed of his inferiority and want to find a hole to drill into. Thinking of this scene, Han Chujio's round face turns red with excitement. His pair of eyes are as clear as the stars in the night sky. Seeing such a young man, Elder Chong was a little startled, but he couldn't help but smile. He hasn't seen little Gio like this for many years. It's great that little Gio can accept this apprentice. He just doesn't know who this woman is, but she can be treasured by Han Chujio, who has always been arrogant. Thinking of this, Elder Chong couldn't help but ask, Little Gio, if you want Jun Shang to support your apprentice, you have to tell him your apprentice's name, right? Where does she live in the Xiojin continent? Han Chujio was about to answer, but he was shocked to find that he doesn't know his apprentice's name in the real world. His face looked as if he was greatly shocked. After Elder Chong inquired a few times, he said listlessly, I will leave a trace of my divine sense imprint in your body, and then I will leave one in my obedient disciple's body. When you arrive at the cultivation continent, you just need to follow the divine sense imprint to find her. After that, he doesn't wait for Di Ming Ju to respond. A divine sense imprint was directly sent into his body. Di Ming Ju doesn't resist, allowing the divine awareness imprint to slowly sink into his knowledge sea. Chong Lao originally wanted to say something, but when he saw Han Chujio flying away, he couldn't help but laugh. When Han Chujio returned to the inheritance space, she angrily stared at her precious disciple. But unfortunately, Mu Yin was immersed in refining pills and did not notice that he was sulking. Han Chujio picked up the teacup but didn't drink it. Instead, she slammed it on the table. This pa sound finally attracts Mu Yan's attention. She turned around in surprise and saw the cute boy with puffed cheeks. Ninth Master, when did you come back? Han Chujio's cheeks bulged like a frog. Do you still recognize me as your master? Mu Yin blinked her eyes. Of course, I recognize you. Master, who made you angry? Is it that flower peacock that Master mentioned? Han Chujio stared at her with big round eyes. This master is the king of medicine. Who can make this master angry? Baidu search for the UC Book League website so that you can experience the latest and fastest chapters. All are updated in seconds. Chapter 2452. Although he said so, Han Chujio's expression and actions clearly expressed his strong feelings. Master, I am very angry. Come and comfort me. Mu Yin smiled and walked forward, sat next to Han Chujio, and poured a cup of tea for him. Master, drink some tea. The teacup that Han Chujio just despised was happily taken and took a sip. Aya, the tea poured by my good disciple is so sweet. Mu Yin, did disciple make master angry? Han Chujio proudly sipped the tea and did not speak. Mu Yin sighed and said, I just successfully refined a 10th grade elixir, but the purity is only 94%. Jiu Shifu, do you think I am too useless and lose your face? Cough, cough, cough. Han Chujio coughed violently. He only left for a few hours. Even if converted to the time in the inheritance space, it was only a few days, but his precious disciple has already refined a 10th grade elixir. Even the purity almost reached the perfect line that he required. Wait a minute. If this continues, will his disciple catch up with him in a few years? Then how can he teach his good disciple? How can he show off outside? Han Chujio suddenly felt a sense of crisis. He was not even interested to ask Mu Yan's real name and address. Anyway, his little disciple is his little disciple. When his little disciple ascends to the Xiojin continent, he can catch her at any time and place and ask her clearly. Han Chujio imprinted his divine sense in Mu Yan's body and only said one sentence. Good disciple, wait for me. Master will soon send someone to support you. Without waiting for Mu Yin to ask, he hurriedly left. Mu Yin was left in the same place, with a puzzled look on her face. So why was Master angry just now? In Tianguang ruins, because of the competition between Great God Yi and Great God Jun, there was an uproar. Mu Yin did not pay attention to it all. She calmly refined elixirs in the inheritance space. Until there were only 3 days left before the start of the competition, she re-entered Tianguang ruins. At this time, in Tianguang ruins, the voice of Jun Mu Yin had gradually overshadowed Yi Liangqin. The first place on the popular list of elixirs began to be replaced by Lung Qingwan's Snow Soul Pill. When Mu Yin arrived at the shop the old man is #1 in the world, it was still crowded outside. However, it was different from the past, where they all came to buy pills and talismans in an orderly manner. At this time, the people outside the door were divided into 2 evenly matched groups. The group of people near the shop had stern expressions on their faces as they prepared for battle. Mu Yin recognized him. It was Liang Qindajuan. As for the other group of people, they were also ferocious and furious. It was just that he didn't curse like Fan Jiping and the others before. Moreover, the young man standing in front of these people, as well as the few people following behind him, were all shocked. Coincidentally, Mu Yin knew him. That young man was dressed like a peacock. His entire body was covered in embroidered clothes, and he was even spinning a jade flute in his hand. Who else could it be other than Xiao Yunquan, the foppish young master he met in the Woodfern secret realm? Many of the people behind Xiao Yunquan were acquaintances. Chunda and Xu Yong of the Green Tooth sect, as well as the young girly Xiuxiu, who had been rescued from the hands of the Blood Hand Jackals, were among them. Xiao Yunquan was obviously their representative. The corners of his lips were raised, and his smile was coquettish. But that smile did not reach the bottom of his eyes. Instead, it contained a stern coldness. We, the devastating city army, have never been unreasonable people. If you want to chase after your great god Yi, we don't care. But if you hurt our goddess Yin Yin, you will be guilty of the most heinous crime. Chapter 2453. Mu Yin shivered when she heard the words devastatingly beautiful army and goddess Yin Yin. She couldn't wait to rush over and smash Xiao Yinchuan's head. How come this guy has become so sickening after leaving the Woodfern's secret realm? Unfortunately, the devastatingly beautiful army behind Xiao Yunchuan didn't find it sickening at all. Instead, they all showed expressions of approval. Chunda took a step forward, his expression gentle, but unquestionable. We don't ask for much. Anyone from your Liangqin army who has insulted God Jun must apologize in front of everyone in the reincarnation square. This matter will be written off. Victory and defeat in the upcoming pill competition will depend on your own ability. If you can't even do this. Before Chunda could finish, Elegant Bro had already stopped himself. You want the person who insulted God Jun to apologize? I, your father, want the person who insulted God Yi to apologize. Don't tell me that none of you have ever insulted God Yi? Sister Hua sneered. Pfft, what God Jun? Immortal fairy Qingwan? That woman is obviously not a good person. She's a whore, repeatedly trying to frame our God Yi. What's wrong with us insulting her? I still want to tear up that ugly face of hers that pretends to be ugly. If you have the ability, then come and kill this old lady. Do you really think our Liangqin army is afraid of you? Xiao Yunquan and the others' expressions turned cold. Their expressions were filled with anger and killing intent. Many of them had entered the Woodfern's secret realm and survived through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Even if martial arts were prohibited in the Tianguang ruins, the powerful pressure they released was enough to make the surrounding people pale. For the first time, there was no smile on Xiao Yunquan's face, which had always been frivolous. Instead, there was only the coldness of a superior. Well, since it doesn't work, don't blame me for using force to oppress you. Ever since I left the Woodfern's secret realm, I've sworn that anyone who goes against me Yin Yin is going against me. Xiao Yunquan, your Liangqin army and the old master's #1 under heaven shop Are you ready to bear the wrath of my Shao family? And the green-tooth sect, and the wind sword sect. In and not far from the old man is number one in the world shop. Lung Qingwan and Lu Yu sat facing each other. Looking at the commotion over here, the corner of Lung Qingwan's mouth hooked up into a mocking smile. That slut Junmayan really has a lot of supporters, ah. However, they were also very easy to deceive. He only showed a slight sign of weakness in front of them, frowned, and expressed the grievance of being insulted and bullied. Without hesitation, they rushed to the front and became his lackeys. A bunch of brainless idiots. Lung Qingwan retracted her gaze and happened to see Lu Yu's drooling expression. She immediately frowned and revealed a disgusted expression. Lu Yu wiped his saliva and said with a flattering smile, "Celestial Fairy Qingwan, don't worry, we've already arranged everything. The signature that Dong Yulong obtained is in our hands now. As long as we hand it over, this Yi Liangchen won't even have the chance to participate in the pill competition. What's more, so what if she can participate? How could that ugly half-baked monster's level compare to immortal fairy's godly alchemy talent? As the saying goes, flattery doesn't work." Even though Lung Qingwan loathed Lu Yu and looked down on her, she felt as if she was walking on air at this time. Chapter 2454. She smiled faintly and said, "When those idiots from the city-toppling army make their move, all of you follow them immediately. Use Liangchen's army as bait to snatch the Herb King's inheritance from Yi Liangchen's hands. As long as you handle this matter well, I guarantee that I will win back the champion of the pill competition for Marquis." Lu Yu grinned and reached out his hand to caress Lung Qingwan's hand that was resting on the table. He said in a smooth voice, "This little one understands. To be able to serve the immortal fairy is a lowly one." Impudent. Lung Qingwan ruthlessly slaps him. "Who do you think you are? How dare you touch me? Get lost. Don't let this empress see you." Lu Yu left in fear and trepidation. However, when he turned down the stairs, he turned around and looked towards Lung Qingwan's direction, revealing a greedy and sinister smile. He, the high and mighty immortal fairy? I, Lu Yu, love to train and domesticate such prey. After chasing away Lu Yu, Lung Qingwan's gaze once again shifted downwards. Seeing the tense atmosphere in front of the number one shop in the world, the disgust in his heart was replaced by delight. At this time, Lu Xingze, the owner of the Floating Life Pavilion, had also rushed over. He stood beside Xiao Yunchuan with a cold and stern expression and said in a clear voice, "If Liang Qin's army doesn't apologize to the great god Jun, then my Floating Life Pavilion will launch an all-out attack on the old master's number one under the heaven store in the Tianguang ruins from today onwards. The businesses related to the Floating Dreams Pavilion would never supply any goods to Liang Qin's army. You'd better think carefully about the pros and cons. In front of the old master is the best in the world store." All the soldiers of Liang Qin's army gritted their teeth and looked humiliated and angry. Xiao Yinchuan stepped forward. His eyes were cold and his voice was powerful. "Make your choice. Do you want to apologize or bear the anger of our magnificent army? I have no intention of threatening you, but if you refuse to negotiate, then I, Xiao Yinchuan, swear that I will make your Liang Chun army disappear forever." Before he could finish his words, he suddenly felt a pain in his abdomen, and his whole body flew out, landing heavily on the ground. God Yi is here." Seeing the young girl slowly walking out from the crowd, Liang Qin's army cried tears of joy. No matter how difficult the situation was, it seemed that as long as this girl was there was no difficulty that could not be solved. There was no miracle that could not be born. In their most desperate and humiliating moments, this person whom they trusted wholeheartedly would always appear in time and never let them down. Xiao Yinchuan cuts a sorry figure as he gets up from the ground. He coldly looks at Mayan. However, Xiao Yinchuan frowned as he took a closer look. The young girl's appearance was ordinary and delicate, leaving no impression on others. But those eyes were as bright as stars, with a hint of indifference, laziness, and charm. There was also the disdainful and indifferent temperament that shrouded the young girl, which always gave Xiao Yunchuan an inexplicable sense of familiarity. The anger that had surged into his heart had unknowingly dissipated by more than half. He tidied up his clothes, took 2 steps forward and said, "You are Yapiang Chen? Trying to put this young master in his place? Interesting. Do you know that this young master is—" The last word who had not left his mouth. Xiao Yunchuan's head had already been pressed to the side. "Get up. I'm not interested in talking to you." Even if you use your knees to think, you would know that Xiao Yunchuan was obsessed with looks. He only looked at the face. "You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.